Love.
No, that was the day I was gone.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The first Friday. Mark, he's fantastic, right? So you did a history of the Lou with Sue, with him on this
The Ghost
amazing,
Army.
the Ghost Army. That was the fascinating story. And I shamefully, I even told you that Friday. I said, man, that thing wraps up on Monday on Memorial Day. I really want to get over there and see it. And then things kind of were weird because that was the weekend that Joe Arnold and Scott Jennings called an audible. They came in for the game. And then I didn't have the energy to come down Monday before it closed. But I don't want to rip. Mark's great. And I just want to say something. I don't know who's in charge, but I did notice something today. And I looked specifically. And you might remember we talked about this last year. So it is Pride Month, right? Remember, it's Pride Month. I feel like I'm remiss in my duties because I haven't highlighted the rainbow flag. And when I was coming in last year, and I'm just telling you, and I don't know who makes the call on this, but they had a pride flag that was up there. They have two flags. They have an American flag and they have the St. Louis flag. At least that's what I saw today. But last year they had the pride flag up for, the entire month. And I think a lot of people were rather, I would use the word disgusted by that. I don't understand. You want to put it up over City Hall with all your progressive nonsense, blah, blah, blah. You do what you have to do. But why in the world would you do it there? So I guess maybe I shouldn't be highlighting it because they haven't done it. But I did find that an interesting observation just driving in here. Let me just go through a couple of things that have happened today. And there's a lot that's happened today. One other observation, Fred, tell me if I'm wrong. The last time we kind of saw President Trump was on Friday with Elon Musk. If we because I'm really surprised that he hasn't responded to the Musk tweet yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen him doing those, reporter one-on-ones or the gaggles with the reporters. I haven't seen that in a couple of days.
Right. So you have to kind of wonder what's going on behind the scenes. And Jason Smith is out there again. We had Jason on the show. He's the chair of the House Ways and Means Committee. But let's face it, this was the topic of yesterday, was Elon's tweet, and everyone's been reacting to it. Mike Johnson says he's disappointed, and Jason Smith is saying that the CBO numbers are not accurate. One thing I would say about the CBO numbers is, and I think he's right about this, is if we all got tax cuts in 2017, right? That's where they were passed, and they were not permanent. So they have to go back and they have to renew them. That's part of the big, beautiful bill. Now, if we're being honest here, if Kamala Harris was in the White House and even if Kamala Harris was in the White House, I don't even know, it would have been an interesting scenario because let's say Congress still had a Republican majority, but she's in the White House and they send her a bill to extend the tax cuts into the future. Would she have signed that? Now, I know that it wouldn't be necessarily standalone, legislation, but they pretty much campaigned without campaigning on tax increases for the entire country. So I find that fascinating. I have some really interesting polling that's come out today about the two parties. John Halpin, who writes over at the Liberal Patriot, which is an interesting site I like to dip into there every once in a while. They talked about how neither party really is getting support on a lot of these issues. And then, Sue, have you heard about KJP today?
No, I haven't.
You have not heard about KJP? So Brian Kilmeade's coming up here in a minute. We're going to ask him about this. She has dropped out of the Democrat Party.
What?
Well, she's writing a book.
Oh.
She's going to write a tell-all, a look inside. I'm not making this up. It sounds like something I'm kind of making up at this point, right?
Yes, it
does.
does.
A look inside a broken White House outside of party lines. And
what?
This is what she said.
Serving as White House press secretary was an honor and a privilege. But since I have left, the people that come up to me, strangers that come up to me just across the country as I'm traveling, the number one question they ask me is, Karine, how do we get out of this? How do we protect our democracy? How do we protect vulnerable communities among us? What do we do next? Because we don't have answers here. That's what they ask me. And this is my answer. What I have decided to do, and I really have thought long and hard about this, is to follow my own compass. And that's what I've done. And that's what this book does. And here's the truth. And here's how I will lay it out to you. I think we need to stop thinking in boxes and think outside of our boxes and not be so partisan.
Oh my God.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, I think Kenny Wallace is perfect for that. She's the person that went up there every single day. And I predicted, when she took that gig over, I predicted she'd be out in like 6 months. And she lasted longer than most of them. But she went up there defending Democrats every day. You can't tell me. Now, maybe she was slightly insulated. because you have Ron Klain or whoever, the chief of staff, in between her and Joe Biden. But come on, now she's going to write a tell-all book. And I'll make a prediction on this. I bet it sells better than the Tapper and the Alex Thompson book, just because, because she's going to be ripping on Trump and she's going to be ripping on the Republicans. I can't imagine she's not going to defend much of what they did in the Biden White House. But that is fascinating. What an interesting move that she makes. I was just thinking about her the other day. Remember, I said, who's kind of getting off the hook here more than anyone else when it comes to the Alex Thompson and the Jake Tapper book? Anyway, hey, we'll keep you posted here. We got a tornado warning. Brian Kilmeade's coming up next.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we've got some very heavy rain, and of course, you've heard reports of tornadic activity, at least on radar. So please be careful if you happen to be on the roads. We've got an accident westbound 6440. It's just past the Boone Bridge, and it was blocking the left lane. Traffic, of course, is stacked up behind it. But listen, we are rain slowed on the Boone Bridge through Chesterfield Valley. We've even got volume on 364. There was an accident reported west of 94 on 364, causing a delay. 70 is rain slowed. We are just rain slowed throughout the area. Now, if you are downtown, we're still okay. Nothing here yet. Southbound 55, just a little bit of volume at Bates in the construction zone. 270 has been pretty slow, and that's approaching Page down through Doherty Ferry, but even northbound is slow. And right now, we're still fine on the Poplar Street Bridge if you're headed into Illinois, and all of the bridges downtown look good. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Another RX Watch, brought to you by Onder Law.
There's an evil new twist in the tragic story of baby powder and its link to ovarian cancer. Recently uncovered documents reveal that talc can contain asbestos.
The same asbestos that we know causes mesothelioma.
Right, and ovarian cancer.
In the 1970s, the industry wrote its own rules, allowing Johnson & Johnson to claim that its talc was asbestos-free, as long as it contained less than 1% asbestos.
Of course, Johnson & Johnson helped write those rules. So while we're using hazmat suits to remove the asbestos from our homes, Johnson & Johnson was telling women it's safe for their bodies.
Unbelievable. So if you've used talcum powder for feminine hygiene and contracted ovarian cancer, call Onder Law at 1-800-RX-WATCH.
They've already won several large verdicts against Johnson & Johnson for women just like you.
Call Onder Law at 1-800-RX-WATCH. That's 1-800-RX-WATCH or go to rxwatch.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
While you start to think spring, that might mean a move is in your future. But the question is, when is the right time to buy? Well, I go to my friend Stewie at Stewart's American Mortgage to ask that question. Stewie, how do buyers beat the competition when they're looking to buy a new home?
All right, Annie, we're going to give you 3 big bullets. Number 1, get the bagel loan, no closing costs. If you don't have to pay those closing costs, add it to the bid. You'll beat all the other offers. Number 2, tell the seller you're going to close in 10 days. 10 days, most lenders take 30 days just to get the loan approved. He's going to take your offer over everybody else's right away. Number 3, we give you the power of the pre-approval in your hands. You can access our portal anytime you want and generate your own pre-approval letter. Don't wait for the lender. You can make it happen yourself.
Well, the smart move starts by calling or texting my friend Stewie at 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. He just gave you those 3 tips to smart buying to beat the competition. Google the bagel loan for more information. NMLS number 226715.
What does Del Walmsley, CEO and founder of Lifestyles Unlimited, think you need to succeed in this market?
It's time to buy, and so you better get prepared. You better get educated. You better get your money right. You need to get involved because you're going to need the financing. You're going to need the vendors that we have available to us. You're just going to need the interaction with people. You need to immerse yourself into real estate.
Start your real estate immersion with a free workshop live online at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Don't miss Mosby Building Arts Home Improvement Show, Saturdays from 12 to 1 p.m. on 97.1. One of the last call-in shows where you can get live answers to your remodeling, design, and construction questions. Tune in Saturdays at noon.
The Diamond Shop, 20% off all watches, even Movado, 40% off all men's in-stock jewelry, plus 40% off all pearl jewelry and in-stock wedding bands. Continues until June 28th. 10% VIP, extra 10% off purchase. Not valid for watches through the month of June.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Imagine this, a summer evening, relaxing under a beautiful porch overhang, hosting your friends on a composite deck, or enjoying a bug-free breeze in a screened room. That sounds dreamy, right? Hi, it's Kim, and that dream can be your reality with Lakeside Renovation and Design, because they specialize in creating outdoor spaces that make your backyard the go-to spot for family and friends. And with their attention to detail and the high-quality materials they use, you'll have a space that lasts for years. Visit lakesideRD.com today to get started on your outdoor oasis.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, Sue, you and I have been in radio for a long time. Sometimes you have to call some audibles, and we have resources that are shared here at Odyssey St. Louis. And Dave Murray is currently on our sister station, KMOX. So we're going to dip into their coverage so people know exactly what's kind of going on with this storm right now.
St. Louis metro area from St. Charles City into northern St. Louis County. I've got Maria Kina, who's been working the phones. But first, let's take you to Roger Brand at the KMOX traffic center if we can. And Roger's been taking a look at the cameras, many of which are shaking. A lot of cars are out there, especially in these impacted zones. What do you hear and see about the situation, Roger?
Well, there's still folks right now. I'm looking at 364 and 141 because that was the last place that the rotation was moving through that had a major intersection that I could take a view. And there's been a lot of folks just trying to jam under that 364 overpass on 141 northbound. There was a lineup of about a half mile originally. The rain has let up somewhat, so now there's just maybe a half dozen cars stuck through there. I just get a report though a moment ago of southbound 141. Just south of there, right alongside the Lou Fuse soccer fields, the southbound side, though, not northbound, but heavy standing water reported in the roadway there. So if it's not in the northbound side, that leads me to believe maybe there's some clogged storm drains on the southbound side. We do a few jams. We had a jam right. It's still out there. The valley, Chesterfield Valley is where it crossed first. So 64, you could barely see. I tweeted out a pic earlier of the visibility with that rain and the dark clouds. You really couldn't see anything. There's still a jam from Long Road across the Boone Bridge. We have a crash on westbound 364 near Gudermuth. That's jammed at Mid Rivers right now. And where we don't have jams, everything's just really slow with these downpours. We've had heavy standing water, so no surprise. You're seeing heavy traffic on 70 from basically 170 all the way out to 370, 270, but pretty much between 44 and 370. Again, is just rain slowed because of these heavy downpours we're experiencing as this weather moves through.
Yeah, Roger, I'm looking at the camera, 370 at 94 going west. It's midnight, basically. It looks pitch black. Maria Keen and I are looking at this. We could just see the headlights and the taillights, and it's black otherwise. And Roger Brand, I think if we're talking 370 and 94, that's where we've been discussing.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Dave was just saying, it's with the warning was for like the northern part of St. Charles City, that's where that is. And it's a deluge right now. Traffic's very slow. I see a vehicle with flashing lights. It could be a MoDOT truck moving through the area. So it's quick hitting and hard hitting when it happens.
All right. That is Roger Brand. Thank you so much, Roger. He's listening to the scanners, watching the cameras, getting all the information for us. If you have an observation and you're in a safe space to pass it along to your fellow St. Louisans, give us a call at 314.
We're kind of sharing some coverage from our sister station down the hall, KMOX, who Dave Murray is on and sort of actively tracking the storm. I was hoping to hear his take here. So that's what you're hearing here at the start of the Mark Reardon Show. We're kind of calling some audibles.
Weather situation that's in St. Louis and St. Charles counties. We've got Roger Brand. We've got Maria Kina, Dave Murray with us. Maria, you've been working the phones. First of all, confirmation from police of a spotting of a twister. Also, evacuations and sheltering in place happening in places like the city.
That's correct. The confirmation for the tornado in the Chesterfield area. We don't have a pinpointed location at this point, but it has been confirmed by authorities. Then St. Louis Mayor Kara Spencer just moments ago addressing the entire City Hall staff who is evacuated to the lower level in the basement. As you can imagine, Michael, a lot of tired city workers have been going through this since May the 16th when the tornado, the EF3 hit here. And so you have a lot of employees that are on pretty tense at this point, and they immediately evacuated to the basement, and Mayor Spencer down there trying to talk them through this.
All right, Maria Kina, thank you so much. That is important information when it comes to Chesterfield, especially.
One other thing, Michael, I
yes.
do want to mention. The alarms did sound. The tornado warnings did go off in the city of St. Louis.
Oh, the sirens are successful today in the city.
They were sounding downtown.
All right. Thank you, Maria. We're going to check back in with her as she gets more folks on the phone. If you want to help us out and share what you've been seeing, 314-436-7900. Meteorologist Dave Murray is with us as we approach the bottom of the hour. We've got a couple of tornado-warned areas. Why don't we reset and get everybody back up to date on where the most pressing areas of concern are, Dave?
Yeah, I don't see a lot of rotation taking place anymore, but I do see straight line winds, as Roger mentioned, very heavy torrential downpours of rain and a lot of lightning. The heaviest rain right now is, in about 2 minutes, will be pulling away from the city of St. Charles. You'll see the rain level just drop off very, very quickly here. You get up, again, it's a bit of a bowling ball shape right along 94. Bridgeton, you're right in the heart of it. Florissant, you're right on the edge of it. It's certainly rolling your way. Ferguson, same thing. Jennings, it's almost to you, but Overland has been seeing some heavy rain. Maryland Heights, University City, Ladue, Clayton, Frontenac, Town and Country, and let's include Richmond Heights and Maplewood there. Creve Coeur, things are easing up a little bit. Also, still some heavy rain around Baldwin down to about Valley Park, and let's include Eureka, Pacific, High Ridge, it's getting very close to you. Cedar Hill, it's going to get close to you. Again, this is not the tornado that we're concerned about. This is heavy rain, really a thunderstorm squall line more than anything else. The heaviest rain is just to the east of St. Charles City and Bridgeton over to about Florissant and approaching Old Jamestown. That's the heaviest of the rain, but that's not to diminish what Ferguson is seeing, what Jennings is going to see very soon, and University City is starting to see. Now, as far as downtown St. Louis is concerned, the heaviest rains are going to be the basically central St. Louis City and northern St. Louis City. Southern St. Louis City is probably not going to see much of anything as far as really strong thunderstorms. Certainly see some rain, going to hear thunder and lightning and that stuff, but it's going to be mainly to the north of southern portions of St. Louis City. It could even miss, as far as the real strong stuff, it could even just nick St. Louis City downtown because everything is shifting. It's almost like there's a little low pressure system between St. Charles and Florissant right now, kind of what we would call a microclimate low pressure that has formed and is spinning and is starting to lift this thing more north and northeast than to the east. As that little spin of a low pressure, not the spin of a tornado, but the spin of low pressure continues to take it away, it's going to really diminish the southern flank of this to some extent. But again, will it reach St. Louis City? I'm going to think that it may not. As far as really severe weather is concerned. Now, with that said, St. Louis City is under that tornado warning that should be expiring here pretty soon. In fact, it's supposed to expire in about 1 minute. So we'll see if that thing gets dropped, and we'll see if the tornado warning to the north, which still has 31 minutes associated with it, that we'll see what they're going to do with that. But I would be more concerned with that second tornado warning that went up. So that includes St. Charles goes over to Old Jamestown, Portage-Sioux. Let's include Grafton in that. Let's include Alton in that, though. You're right on the line. Godfrey is not. Otterville is not. Brighton is not at this stage of the game. But that's the little circulation of a low pressure that is quite fascinating to see it kind of pull itself together. That we usually don't see stuff like this, but it does look like a mini low pressure system cutting right across St. Charles County right now.
Yeah, Dave, this has kind of come as a bit of a surprise. We mentioned this earlier. We expected storms. We did not expect them to be this severe, this kind of a threat to life and property. And then, we watch the radar indications, whether it's the winds or the possible debris signatures. And it seems like this has ebbed and flowed. We've had moments where we think this may be weakening. We may be okay. Then lifts a little bit and it picks up again. And so that's why we're on the air, because these tornado warnings do still persist. And we can't quite call the all clear yet.
Right. And I would not call, well, actually, you know what? The tornado warning that was covering most of St. Louis County, St. Louis City, has just expired. It does not look like it's being reissued. The tornado warning to the north, again, it's now past St. Charles City, but it is very close to, it's basically the big old low pressure system I'm talking about is right over St. Charles County right now to the east of St. Charles. And it is moving towards Grafton, Portage de Sioux, and Old Jamestown. I don't see a lot of rotation in this. There's probably a little bit because of the spin of the overall parent low pressure system, but it's kind of a fascinating thing that we don't get to see very often. You see it on a large scale, and there is a possibility that a hook is trying to develop in St. Charles County right now. We really have to give this a little bit of time, but it is to the east of St. Charles City, and it's right along 94 in St. Charles County. That's an interesting look right now. It doesn't show the contrasting colors that we look for, but it's kind of a weird looking little thing of wind and precipitation with that. So we're going to keep an eye on that. And that's why that tornado warning that covers a good chunk of St. Charles County, east of the city of St. Charles, and that they're right in that. That's right where the warning should be. And that's got about another 25 minutes or so, 28 minutes associated with that warning. That is not going to be dropped. But the warning that covered most of St. Louis City and St. Louis County has been dropped. It has expired. And it does not look like anything new is being issued. The focus is really going to be on St. Charles County now.
Yeah, this box stretches city of St. Charles. The bottom of it goes along Florissant, north of Spanish Lake, ends at about Alton. Want to listen right now to Fox 2's Dave Sharp, who is out in the field providing a view of what he sees.
Just basically on the east side of St. Charles County, and I set up on the north side of a building because it protected us from the rain, or protected me from the rain. And after it really came through, all of a sudden it started coming in from the north and got absolutely soaked. It just changed directions at the drop of a hat. It was like somebody flushed, and it was on. The rain has pretty much slowed down here, but we still have a ton of thunder and lightning. I don't know if you can see my shot or not, but
if we have his shot still, let's go ahead and bring that up on the right side. Again, Dave's in St. Charles County. I think if I remember what you said, sorry, Dave, there you go. You're at 364, 94-ish area.
Correct.
Okay.
And the worst is through, but there's still a ton of lightning and a ton of thunder. The sirens have gone off twice since I've been here. They went off. This area has some flooding issues back in the neighborhoods back here, but it is past here, and we had no hail.
Gotcha. And what you described as the shifting winds is classic for kind of the northern end of a comma cloud or a comma head of a Boeing Echo. And you can kind of see, I'm going to zoom our radar out here, Dave. Thanks very much for that live report. And we look forward to seeing your video, any of the videos.
It is Dave Sharp, Fox 2 photojournalist, calling in. Want to call your attention now to Ameren, Missouri's latest dashboard update. 6,835 customers are without service. A few hundred of those are in St. Louis County, West County, Baldwin, Clarkson Valley, Manchester, Ellisville. But the bulk of those, about 4,555, are in St. Charles County without electricity. 591, big chunk around the Cottleville area. Let's see what Ameren says about that. They've got that assigned to a crew, but there is not a restoration estimate yet. 1,000 people out, centered around Park Charles Road and St. Peter's Howell Road, just to the west of Harvester. How many are out there? About 1,011. And again, that just reported to Ameren about 10 minutes ago. They have not sent that out to a crew yet, but St. Charles County is really feeling the brunt of this. 3,000 customers out in the city of St. Charles, the densely packed part of the city of St. Charles. The dot on the Ameren map is right over the campus of Lindenwood University, just to the south of J.C. Park, to the east of Blanchette Park, and just by the river, the historic district, the St. Charles County and city government buildings. All of that looks like it may be in the dark. About 3,000 customers out in that part of St. Charles County. You're listening to live weather coverage on the Voice of St. Louis, KMOX, and 97.1 FM Talk. Michael Calhoun in the KMOX newsroom, along with Roger Brand, Maria Kina in the newsroom, and we've got meteorologist Dave Murray with us as well. One tornado warning has expired, but we've got one for mostly St. Charles, portions of St. Louis County. That continues until 4 o'clock, Dave.
Right. And first of all, shout out to Dave Sharp. If I had to be out chasing storms, that's the guy I want to be with. He is spectacular. Sharpie has always been into weather, and he's always able to find the place to go. So a little shout out to Dave. Now, as far as this tornado warning in St. Charles County, right on the edge of northern St. Louis County, St. Charles, you have now been cleared from that. Bridgeton, you're just about clear. In fact, we could probably clear you. The storm itself is filling a little bit. Again, we mentioned that little low pressure system that has been taking place, and it's now centered in St. Charles County to the east of St. Charles. It's getting weaker the way things are looking right now. And then the squall line that comes off of that, it's also getting weaker as it really approaches the Mississippi River. St. Louis City, you will see some heavy rain out of this for a very, very short period of time, but you're not in a concern of a tornado warning at all at this point. And again, southern portions of St. Louis City, you'll see some rain. You're not even going to see the heavy downpours of rain. That's how tight this all is. And then we kind of go back to the west a little bit, Wildwood, Eureka, down just to the east of St. Clair, approaching Cedar Hill right now. Very heavy downpours of rain and a lot of lightning there. That's kind of the tail end of the squall line, though the squall line itself goes all the way down to the Arkansas border, but it's not severe at this point. The only severe stuff that is continuing to hold together to some extent is in St. Charles County to the east of St. Charles. So St. Charles City and the surrounding area, you are all clear right now. The rain is tapering off quite quickly, though there is, as Dave mentioned, a lot of thunder and lightning still associated with this thing. But it's kind of an interesting study in the dynamics of this situation that got started very, very quickly. And it really, you could almost say it came out of nowhere in western St. Louis County. But now it's kind of spinning itself out, raining itself out, so to speak. And I think this tornado warning for portions of St. Charles County, which still has about 20 minutes associated with it, is probably going to get dropped a little bit early, but they don't want to drop it too early just because the atmosphere is quite turbulent in there. I'm not seeing any rotation. I'm not seeing any spinning going on at all. That one area that kind of looked like a hook was trying to go together is not there. I'm, again, more concerned about straight line winds more than anything else. And some of those winds could be 60 plus miles per hour. So the tornado warned area is a great box, what we call a box for the warning right now. It is covering exactly what it's supposed to cover.
That's meteorologist Dave Murray with us at 3:38. Again, we've got the tornado warning for northeastern St. Charles and north central St. Louis counties in effect until 4 p.m. Our news team is on this. Maria Kina, we're going to hear from her in just a moment. Let's listen to Fox 2's Andy Banker first.
Plum Farm Road, Chris, and 109.
Yes, sir.
That's real close to Rockwood Valley Middle School. I just got off the phone with the school district there. No damage reported at the school, and the good thing is, I mean, given the timing of the storm, if school was still in session, there'd be grave concerns out there, but no school in session today. There are summer school classes in the Rockwood School District, several hundred kids at those, and the high schools, at least, Eureka and Marquette, they were getting out, the kids from the summer school program, they call it the Summer Academy. They were on buses. They turned the buses around, sent them back to the schools to shelter in place until the warning cleared. But I believe that is cleared, and the students have been cleared to go ahead and go home now. No issues reported there. No confirmed damage. The Missouri State Highway Patrol is heading to that area. They do have teams headed there to assess damage, but they were not able to confirm anything for us at this point.
Yeah, on Max 11, we still have a little couplet in there, and it's radar indicated rotation.
That's Fox 2's Andy Banker along with John Fuller. Maria Kina's just walked into the studio from the newsroom. You've been working the phones, Maria. What's the latest that you've learned?
First, I want to start off with South St. Peter's and Jungerman. They have some pretty serious flooding going on there. They're asking for additional assistance. It sounds like they might have some vehicles stuck in the water there.
So first of all, don't add to the number of people they have to rescue.
Absolutely.
If you're driving in that area, turn around. It's the phrase, turn around, don't drown. Don't give them, the emergency responders, more people to have to save.
No,
Avoid the area if you can.
At this point, they're trying to go from area to area to see what kind of damage that they will encounter, because right now they're just essentially driving, trying to find the damage. And when you come across a situation like that, obviously, if you see any water on the roadway, do not drive into that water, because it's been coming down in buckets and you just can't see. You can't judge it. There's no way to judge it at this point. Now, we do have down trees and power lines.
Yeah, Brad Schoda's just walked in.
Yeah, down trees and power lines on Strecker Road west of Kerrs Mill Road, and the road is blocked there. So they're awaiting firefighters to get there and assess the situation.
That's one of the areas we were talking about a half an hour ago with Dave, is that West County area, Clarkson Valley, Kerrs Mill. Maria, that's where they're headed there, and points west, Wildwood 109, to do searches.
That's correct. 109 and Bloomfield seems to be an area of concern of theirs right now. And that's where police were trying to go to assess the damage, see what's happened in that area. And also, we did have the confirmation of the tornado. We still don't have it pinpointed yet in Chesterfield exactly where that hit. But I have been listening to the police cars driving up and down. You've heard it too, Brad, up and down 141 and Olive from like Highway 64 west, and now they're turning around and starting to go north, and then turning around to go south, because they're looking for damage. So far, they haven't encountered it, as from what I can understand, at 141 and
there was a middle
Olive.
school not too far from there, and I understand that the middle school has said that there is no damage there. So that's that area we were talking about, 141 and Blum Farm Road.
Yeah. So, but, Dave's been talking about it, the torrential downpours that are coming down. That's going to be the big concern right now with the water rescues.
All right. Thank you very much, Maria Kina. Brad Schote, again, have been working our sources and our phones, talking with emergency officials to try to get a handle on what's happening. If you have something to pass along to your fellow St. Louisans, 314-436-7900, 342 on KMOX and 97.1 FM Talk. Michael Calhoun in the KMOX newsroom, along with our news team. You heard Maria Kina, Brad Schote there. We've got meteorologist Dave Murray with us. Right now, I want to jump in with Captain Roger Brand in the KMOX Traffic Center. And Roger, we've been watching these.
So we have our own traffic person here, Sue Thomas. We're going to go to that, but that just happened very quickly. The sirens and the alarms and our phones were going off just before, Sue, as you know, the start of the show. We dipped in and we're simulcasting some of the KMOX coverage. We may go back into that. This is obviously a fluid situation.
Yes.
I just retweeted something from Ethan shared this from something called Weather Nation, and this was some video from out in Hazelwood, and it sure looked like it was a tornado. So we don't know if something touched down. We don't know the extent of damage. We do know it's freaking a lot of people out. Even in my wife got back from Kansas City, and she's with my daughter this afternoon, and we're talking about some of the stuff happening in Pacific and Eureka. That's not too far from where I live. My daughter's freaking out. I think a lot of people are freaking out, but we'll get a traffic update and we'll come back. We'll keep you posted here this afternoon.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, here's the situation out west. If you are along 70 in the Wright City and Wentzville area, we have a lot of volume. We have slow-moving traffic, but the heavy rain is gone from that area. And it's kind of at a slant that's going across. So we can almost not see at all at 44 at Six Flags right there in the Eureka area. And it's past 109. If you are driving 44 at 109, that area actually looks okay right now. It's moving to the east. So we have a lot of volume in both directions on 270. And I should say volume. I should say slow moving traffic as drivers try to deal with this heavy rain. We had the signals on red flash. They were concentrating a lot on the Chesterfield area, and whatever went through there, we have signal issues now. 6440 at Clarkson. We've got standing water reported South St. Peter's at Jungerman. Avoid that area. In fact, if you can just not drive in this, that's your best bet. Now, we are rain slowed on eastbound 70 and westbound 6440. As far as it goes in the city, hasn't been hit that badly yet. But if you are traveling at 6440 at Hampton, there is rain, but you can at least see. And we've got volume now westbound on the Poplar Street Bridge, although I don't know if we'll have a game tonight. And southbound 55 is slowing at Bates. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Yeah, you're right about the game. That's somewhat of a question mark right now. And I do want to talk about Underdog Fantasy, because if there is a game tonight, you can pop on the app. If you haven't downloaded the app, I'm going to tell you how to do that here in a second and get you some instant credit. But with baseball season, or this is for hockey, I think the Stanley Cup Finals start tonight, if I'm not mistaken, a rematch of last year. If you download the Underdog Fantasy app, it's the leading place to make all of your sports selections, and you can play in Missouri. That's one of the things we've been emphasizing here for a few months. Millions of fans have won billions. All you have to do is download the app. You choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats. So if we use the Cardinals, for example, will Mason Wynn get this many of hits? Will Brendan Donovan hit a home run? Will Wilson Cabrera be someone who gets multiple hits? And you go lower or higher based on what you feel. There's the pitching matchups as well. With hockey, goals, assists, all of that stuff is up for grabs. Basketball, you could even put selections in the Champions game really from any sport. I think Sue mentioned yesterday the French Open's going on, so you can play with as little as $1 and you can win up to 1,000 times your money if your entry is correct. You got to get started by downloading the app. Sign up with the promo code MARKR. That unlocks a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Again, the promo code is MARKR. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See underdogfantasy.com/web/deposit-match-terms. Concerned with your play, call 800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
Guys, it's time to take charge of your health with my friends at Victory Men's Health. Mark Cox here. I already love what they do at Victory. They do hormone optimization, sexual health, weight loss, even vitamin deficiencies. Now they're offering specialty cardiovascular testing and even early detection cancer screening. Visit them at one of their 4 great locations, now in Sunset Hills, Town and Country, O'Fallon, Missouri, and O'Fallon, Illinois. Tell them Mark Cox sent you. Go to victorymenshealth.com.
Don't get lost into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call the Lance Story Law Firm today and let us get between you and the IRS. We'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney team who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis, or visit LanceDRURYLaw.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. And a lot of people, when they come in, they'll say, I'm usually much more active, but since I've been in pain, I've had to limit the activities I'm doing.
You're listening to Janelle, an arch support specialist at the Good Feet store.
So he came in and he wanted to be able to keep up play sports with his kids. And from there, we figure out which arch supports complement those activities. I fit him with the arch supports. And as I followed up with him, he's messaged me and said, I took my kids to the park today. We're walking, we're exercising, riding the bikes. And those are all things that he wasn't doing before because he was in pain.
For over 25 years, the Good Feet store's arch support specialists have been helping folks to live the life they love without foot, knee, hip, or back pain getting in the way.
Our goal is to have that long-term change for them. That's what's most important, is knowing that you leave an impact on someone's life. And I like that.
Try them for yourself. Stop in for a free personalized fitting and test walk at the Good Feet store.
Visit one of our 2 locations, Creve Coeur and Shiloh, Illinois, and at goodfeet.com.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
Is thinning hair or receding hairline making you self-conscious? Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
The Annie Fry Show.
Representative Eric Burleson is on with us.
Now you've got lefty, reporters writing books about all this cover-up. This may be one of the greatest scandals, at least of our generation.
Weekdays from noon to 3. Good to Go. The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Yeah, a little different start here because of the storms that moved in, and they really did move in quickly. I was looking at the weather apps earlier today, just figuring out what was going to go on. With the new puppy at home, Sue, wasn't sure how getting the energy out of the puppy was going to work with a rain, forecast pouring down. And at my house, at least in the High Ridge Fenton area this morning, we had some rain that was moderate, but then, as I mentioned, my wife is coming back from Kansas City, so she's driving. And when she was near, I think she said it was near 6440 and I-70, that she's going 45 miles an hour because it was already raining really, really hard in that area. So we are hoping and keeping our fingers crossed here this afternoon that, nobody has devastating damage.
No
but obviously the messaging is certainly there where you got to take shelter, and then people's nerves are a little bit on edge. And then you just hope that the people who don't have roofs on their houses, or they have tarps on their houses, or they don't have houses, aren't affected by this even more than they have been, because that would be just awful. There's a lot of things. Here's the thing about a day like today. And Fred, you know this, when we have all the material that we have, these are the days when things kind of break out and you just have to adjust. We had Brian Kilmeade scheduled and Scott Faughn from Jeff City on the special session. I think we're going to reschedule Faughn for after 5 o'clock, and then we'll see if we can get Kilmeade on tomorrow. I'm trying to figure out what would be the most appropriate topic here to get into before the end of the hour. I really want to talk. Let me talk because there was a reference there from Eric Burleson to the AutoPen situation. And I think that this is pretty interesting and really a good question. It was something that I was going to, ask Kilmeade on the segment here if he was going to join us, because what Ducey did yesterday, well, let me play the audio because he kind of said this in the briefing room and Carolyn thought it was very interesting.
When you look at these last minute Biden pardons, the big ones, Biden siblings, Fauci, January 6th committee.
That's right.
Most of the big ones have the same very neat signature. We would expect that probably to be the AutoPen. There is one that looks different. It looks authentic. In fact, if you look at the last name, it almost looks like the president was having a hard time spelling his last name there. Is this White House of the opinion that the only pardon that would count?
So Sue, did you ever see the visuals? I referred to these yesterday. I saw them again today on Fox. Truth be told, when I heard
the
Peter,
signatures?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So, but he does is, and when I was watching this yesterday, I was not as occupied, focusing on the screen, but I saw it. You saw it today, right, Fred?
Yeah.
And you can see that it's clearly I guess I would describe it as a more bold ink signature, something that's a little bit, and the thing I would compare it to is really how we all sign documents these days. So if you're signing something with an actual marker, Fred loves his Sharpies, right? You live by your Sharpies. I kind of do as well. If you're writing your name out or you're signing your name, and believe me, my signature is, you can't even read it to start with. But if you try to do it on one of the screens, whether it's a DocuSign or you're at a location, even if you're at your pharmacy, I think sometimes you have to sign things. It's different, right? It looks different.
Yeah.
So in this situation, it looks like the signature was exactly the same on all of those other documents, where it could just be, press the button. Now, the legal aspect of that is difficult, I think. I even heard some discussion earlier today. Politically, this is a very interesting question. They're going to have hearings on Capitol Hill. Let me give you Carolyn's response yesterday, because it was pretty good. She had not seen the visuals, or she was unaware that Peter was going to bring them up.
Is one that the president signed himself.
It's very interesting. Very interesting props. If you want to bring them to my office later so I can take a closer look, I would like to do that. The president is making a good point when he discusses the usage of the auto pen. Who was running the country for the past 4 years? Perhaps those documents were signed with the auto pen, something that I believe the Department of Justice is looking into. As you saw, Ed Martin made an announcement at the Department of Justice this morning to launch an investigation because the American people deserve answers.
And they do deserve answers. And then Jim Comer, who's going to chair the committee, is going to look into this, says this.
We're questioning all the ones that were made in the last year. We're really focused on the ones made in the last 100 days. He was spending the majority of his time in Delaware. He wasn't even in the White House. We know who was in the White House at the time. There were staffers and family members that spent a lot of time in the White House at that time. That's when all of the executive orders were signed using the auto pen.
I mean, this is a scandal. It really is. It's a cover-up. Here's Ed Martin, who was appointed to this U.S. attorney role, now going to the Justice Department. He's a St. Louis guy.
No one, I think, with the standard of sort of reasonableness, thinks that what Joe Biden did at the end of his term was particularly reasonable. Now, I happen to think the pardon power is plenary. If you use the auto pen for a pardon power, I don't think that that's necessarily a problem. But the question is, how did this happen? Just like, by the way, many people said, well, wait, there's 1,500 January 6 pardons. How did that happen? These are big moments. And so they have to be able to withstand scrutiny.
Well, I think he's right about that, right? So will there be, this is my question, will there be the proper scrutiny outside of congressional hearings? Will the rest of the media pay attention? We shall find out. We have stormy activity in the area. Going to keep you posted on that. Sue's going to be very busy this afternoon. Plus, we have a Wednesday edition of Sue's News coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We are rain slowed throughout the area, so please be cautious if you are headed out now. The most we could do here is take a tour with the cameras around the area, and I'm starting to see the usual volume on westbound 6440, except they are rain slowed. I mean, we've got wet roadways throughout the area. The last time it was really bad in Eureka, the last time we talked, and visibility was terrible. It's starting to improve there, but that just means the rain is moving to the east. So be careful in that particular area. Now, as far as volume goes, 270 is rain slowed in both directions, and that's mainly from Page down through 44. 44 at Bowles, for instance, was getting some heavy rain not that long ago. So if you're traveling in that area, plus, really, I'm seeing stalled tractor trailers or just tractor trailers trying to get out of the way and getting off on the shoulder while the heavy rain is there. Now, elsewhere, if you're headed in from Illinois, we'll see if we have a game tonight. We might. Maybe this will all go past. But there's some volume there. Slow-moving traffic on southbound 55. 55 will get more of this rain coming up. It just hasn't hit there. 70, slowing rain slowed in both directions. And eastbound, even past the airport. If you're headed to the airport, please give yourself extra time. What looks good? North County. Westbound 270 is pretty quiet through North County. Now, there was some volume westbound 270 at the Canal Bridge, and that continues to be the case. But that is the worst of it right now. This report brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk.
Cash for Clunkers is back. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is paying cash for your clunkers now. Schedule online at overheaddoorstlouis.com or call 314-781-5200. It's cash for clunkers now at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis.
I want to address the MAC members here in St. Louis. Don't forget, if you're coming downtown, we're not sure about the game tonight. There is supposed to be a game tonight at Busch Stadium. You can always come down and hang out at the downtown club, get an adult beverage, take a shuttle down to the game. The same applies when the Blues are they're playing over here at the arena or a soccer game. So there's a lot of benefits to being a member because you can hang out, you can have a great meal. They just changed up some of the dining, both at the west and the downtown location. And then I always like to focus on some of the things that we do at the MAC for the community, because we know, and this is where I got involved with the MAC, that fundamentally, government can't do a lot of the things that we all talk about here, even on this show. And we have a charitable society for children, which is an extension of the Sports Foundation. It operates as a club within a club. And every year we pick charities. And this year it's the Books for STL Kids, Butterfly Kisses Alliance, which is pregnancy and infant loss support, and Kids Smart Tool for Learning. Those are the three charities for this year. We're already taking nominations for next year. So if you're an MAC member, or even if you're a charity that might be interested in applying, you can even hit me on the email here at 97.1 FM Talk, or go to the website, mac-stl.org, for the Missouri Athletic Club.
Hi, this is Steve Butts with the Crawford Butts Insurance Agency. I know we're all experiencing sticker shock when you get your insurance premium. Now more than ever, you need an independent insurance agent to find the best value for your family's insurance needs. Crawford Butts, family owned and operated for more than 60 years. Please give us a call at 314-752-2500 or at crawfordbutts.com.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
Attack suspect were detained by immigration officials. A federal judge is blocking their deportation, at least for now. No family members have been charged, but the Homeland Security Secretary has said they're investigating what, if anything, the family knew about Sunday's Molotov cocktail attack. The FBI confirming more injuries today, 15 people in all and a dog. The suspect, charged with state and federal counts, is an Egyptian national who overstayed a visa. Earlier today, Colorado Governor Jared Polis, alongside faith and community leaders.
We will not be silenced or scared. We will not let the demons of hate define us.
Visiting the attack site in Boulder, Democrats in Congress pouncing on a new estimate showing a House-passed budget package would increase the deficit and leave millions more Americans uninsured.
The Republicans' big, ugly bill is going to cause unnecessary death.
California Congressman Ted Lieu, the White House criticizing assumptions made by the Congressional Budget Office. Some Republicans want more spending cuts. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul telling Fox Business,
I want to vote for the big but not yet beautiful bill, but it's got to freshen up a bit. We're looking for a little bit of makeup here and there.
He also says raising the debt limit, which is part of the House package, should be proposed separately. The president joining one Democrat's call for lawmakers to scrap the debt limit.
President Trump says he finally agrees with Senator Elizabeth Warren that the U.S. debt limit should be entirely scrapped to prevent an economic catastrophe. The one big, beautiful bill passed by the House increases the borrowing limit by $4 trillion. A Senate proposal would increase it by $5 trillion. Breaching the debt limit would mean the U.S. is unable to borrow money needed to pay for existing expenses.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. America is listening to Fox News.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com, sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Expect some unsettled skies over the next couple of days with a front hanging around, some scattered showers, maybe a thunderstorm as we go through the afternoon. But I want to stress nothing severe. 70s to near 80. Couple of showers, couple of non-severe thunderstorms tonight, 67. Same story on Thursday, 83. Little better chance of some strong, possibly severe weather on Friday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends Mark and Neil Gelman from the Gelman team of eXp Realty. If you want immediate cash for your home or to see what your home is actually worth in today's market, find out for free from the local experts. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint by a lot, backed with our 25-year transferable warranty. Paint a house, shield a home. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, steel, aluminum, cedar, and more. We are the only coating company selected by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where all 3 episodes concentrate on unpainted brick. If you maintain or own a business with a tired-looking building, you owe it to yourself to look at Rhino Shield and our beautifully durable color schemes. Evaluations are free. We're making buildings pop and be noticed again, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks, exceeding expectations every day with our products, people, and performance. Now is the time to call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or go to 877-25rhino.com and see how honest and transparent we really are. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts.
Truth be told, Sue, I played this song for a reason, and I swear that I sent myself an email last night about the reason, because I think I've said this before. I follow this guy, Eric Alper, and he's got a gazillion followers, and he always does this little bit of music history. You do a lot of music history, but I thought that there was something that was tied into this from yesterday or this week that was the anniversary of the release. And now I'm driving myself crazy because I'm looking at my email. I'm like, wait a second, maybe I didn't send that.
Listen, I get it.
Maybe I put it into my drafts. Let's see if it's in my drafts, because I was sitting around last night and sometimes I don't press send. Anyway, it's a good song anyway, regardless, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Anytime I can hear Riri.
Exactly.
I'm happy.
Absolutely. Our friend Alex Rich is here, who joins us on a Wednesday. How are you? It's been a little crazy out there. We have video that's coming up from this tornado that might have touched down, and we're seeing Fox reports and others in Wildwood, in St. Peter's, with some trees down. You had some close calls, didn't you, a few weeks ago?
Yeah, I was. I live right in the Clayton area, and the storm hit just a couple streets over, so I was out of power for. Now, I always like to start off with, I'm very lucky that all I was
right.
out of power.
Right.
But I was out of power for about 4 days and had a big tree fall in the front yard that blocked my driveway in.
Ooh.
And actually, all the neighbors came together. You wouldn't have believed this thing. I mean, they had hand saws. There was nobody on my street, I guess, that has a chainsaw. So all of my neighbors came to help chop the tree up to get it off my driveway so I could get my car.
Nice is
yeah,
that?
isn't that something?
Yes.
I would think that most people probably. Do you have a chainsaw, Fred? You out there with the chainsaw? On a regular
No, I
basis?
don't.
Becky's aunt actually has an electric chainsaw, and I needed it at one point. I borrowed it, and I'm really good at giving people things back when I borrow it. It's still in my garage. I've never used it to this day. She said it worked okay, but yeah, I guess most people wouldn't have those. You can cut your arms and legs off with them, so I kind of tend to avoid that.
I don't try my hand at them.
Well,
but it was a lot of damage, obviously.
We will keep people posted on this afternoon. And this just happened so quickly a couple hours ago, and some of the images and the pictures are coming through right now. And since we're on a scary topic, before we get into Sue's news, let me share another scary topic. And with the news cycle, I feel like there are important things that are not being discussed. I'll give you one example I'm going to talk about in the next hour. Sue, or even Alex, do you know much about how the drone attack from the Ukrainians took place inside of Russia on Sunday?
No clue.
It's like a movie script. It is like a Mission Impossible movie, or something like that. When you hear the details, they had to sneak them in, the drones, because they didn't have the range to be launched from Ukraine. They snuck them in these boxes, and then they automatically fired them off. The details are just fascinating. But then there's this one. That's actually one where President Trump has indicated today that he spoke with Putin, and he was talking about some of the stuff with Iran and with nukes, which I think is important to the whole planet. If you think about it, Putin says, of course, on this, well, we have to respond because it was a devastating attack and a real big score of victory for the Ukrainians. But then there's this dangerous biological pathogen, which I didn't really get into much of the details here today. This is a toxic fungus that has been, or at least smuggled into the U.S. Sue, do you know much about this?
I don't.
Okay. So in Michigan, the U.S. Attorney's Office has accused someone named Youngween John, who is a researcher at the University of Michigan, and then also, and I'm going to get the pronounces, wrong here, Zhongwan Li, who is a researcher at a university in China, of working together to smuggle into the United States samples of something called, and forgive me if I'm getting this wrong, Fusarium graminearum, right, which is described as a noxious fungus. So what this does is it causes, there's all kinds of terms here I've never heard in my entire life, head blight disease. But the head blight disease is not in us. The head blight disease is in wheat, barley, corn, and other crops. And what it does, it affects crop quality and yield outbreaks, and yield, and outbreaks have been reported in several countries. So what they do is they bring it into this country. Now, let me just state this. And Fred, you know this because we covered it, so you know it as well. When all these people were streaming across the border, one of the things that I said, and I covered this a lot, was, Bill Malusian's down there at the border, and we're not only seeing people from South America, we're not just seeing people from Mexico stream across the border. He sat there on several days where he had the cameras running. There were streams of either African nationals or Chinese nationals who were all men that were coming into our southern border. That doesn't make sense at all, right? The only person covering that, to my knowledge, was Bill Malusian. So now you have a situation where this fungus, because of the toxins, can cause vomiting, liver damage. There's a Science Journal article that says the fungus is a potential agroterrorism weapon that could be used for targeting food crops. Ari Fleischer responded to this earlier today. This is frightening. And this kind of ties in with, and this is where I think I can relate here with what Ari's about to say and what I'm going to play you. I've been raving about this 9/11 documentary. It's really more of an Osama bin Laden documentary called Manhunt, The Hunt for Osama bin Laden, that's on Netflix. Alex, have you seen it yet?
I've not.
It is amazing. Ethan watched it. He could not stop. He binged it, all 3 episodes in one night. Now, I think we all, if we're being honest, have said since then, that was 30 years ago, right? So you say to yourself, man, we're really lucky that nothing's happened on our soil. But then if it does happen, you're not going to, crash planes into big, tall buildings. What else could happen? Well, something like this could be devastating.
What this takes me back to is after September 11th. After September 11th, the CIA concluded, and they said to the White House, that it's not a question of if, it's a question of when there will be a second attack. And the second attack that we feared the most and prepared the hardest to prevent was a biological attack, because that can cause the greatest destruction. And don't forget, we're dealing with a China that regularly hacks and infiltrates America's industrial infrastructure. They have made it a state business to get inside American systems, to disrupt them, to steal from us, to take, to harm us.
So these two people were a romantic couple. She is teaching at the University of Michigan. He is still in China at this point. So she's been taken into custody. The affidavit from the U.S. Attorney's Office says that they were both studying biological pathogens that can infect crops, with Jian working as a postdoctoral fellow at the Molecular Plant Microbe Interaction Laboratory, that's a mouthful, at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. They say that he tried to smuggle samples. Wait, I want to make sure I'm identifying that she attempted to smuggle samples of the fungus from China into the U.S. in July of last year, visiting, I reversed the genders again because the names are a little tricky. It was he who was trying to smuggle. His girlfriend was here. So they said that he was stopped at the Detroit Metropolitan Airport. He was questioned by Customs Border Protection officers. They searched his backpack. Listen to this. They found 4 transparent plastic bags containing different strains of Fusarium graminearum.
Cow.
They were inside a wad of crumpled T-shirts. So how nuts is that?
Wow.
According to the FBI, this is another favorite part. According to the FBI affidavit, he initially told officers he didn't know how the samples got into his bag. After further questioning, he told the officers that he hid the samples because he knew that there were restrictions on the importation of the materials and that he planned to clone the strains to make more samples and conduct research on the samples at the laboratory where his girlfriend works. So eventually he goes back, and I don't know why they didn't crack down on him right there. He goes back and he's in China. He'll never probably come back here. But how scary is that? Now, this is Senator Schmidt talking about this.
We shouldn't be lax on this at all. The full force of the law should come down on, should prevent anyone associated with the CCP from being at any of our universities.
I would say that that's something that should be looked at very, very carefully. I mean, that is frightening. And if something like that takes off anywhere in this country, it could be devastating to us. So I don't know how you address that from a diplomatic standpoint when you're the president of the United States. All right. The show started by calling audibles. We had all this weather. We were simulcasting our sister station, KMOX, on the other side of the building. Michael Calhoun, Dave Murray was on the coverage. We usually do Sue's News right now. Alex, you're visiting with us.
I'm ready.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a little break here. We're going to get Dave on the air. We'll move Sue's News. I'm just going to make an executive decision. We'll move Sue's News to after 4:30 this afternoon. It's more reason to listen because everyone loves Sue. So hang in there. We'll take a quick break. We got to catch up just a little bit. We'll come back with more. We'll do Sue's News at the bottom of the hour, if that's cool with everyone. And really, you don't have a choice because I made that decision. All right, we're coming back. Hang in there.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Be careful on the roads. We've got rain, 270 at Doherty Ferry, 44 at Elm, 6440 at McKnight. It's kind of at an angle. So we really do have rain-slowed traffic. But it seems to be that we have slow pockets everywhere throughout the area. Westbound 64 is lined up approaching Kings Highway. It's in pockets out through Lindbergh. We've got eastbound slowing in both directions at Clarkson. 70 westbound slowing at Jennings Station Road. But we have eastbound slowing past the airport and at Jennings Station Road. 141 has been slow in pockets really from 70 all the way down through 64. And out west, 70 westbound slowing at 61. Now, there's also some volume westbound on the Poplar Street Bridge. A little bit eastbound, too. It's starting to line up for drivers headed into Illinois. Southbound 55 slowing, and that's mainly south of Arsenal down through Revis Barracks. I'll tell you what, at one point I looked at 6440 in McKnight, and I do it right now. It looks like midnight. So really take it easy. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk. Do you ever wonder if you've saved enough money to retire? I think most of us have. I mean, we know enough to save, and we've been doing that, and then you kind of get closer to retirement, and you think, wait, have I done enough? Is this enough? And how do I navigate retirement? What do I need to know? This is why I like this idea of a one-night adult education class, 3 hours long, called Retirement Planning 101. And it's taught by a fiduciary advisor from Financial and Tax Architects. They have decades of financial planning experience, and they kind of go over everything. Here is how you reduce your taxes. Here's what happens as far as Social Security goes. What if you need to pay for health care and retirement? Here's how to do it. They do this for free, but they want you to bring 3 canned goods for St. Louis Crisis Nursery. There are some openings this month and next, but you do need to register. So call 314-947-2012, 314-947-2012, and feel better about retirement.
All right, tornado sirens were going off across the area. Dave Murray has the very latest on that. He'll give us an update next.
Start your summer with a weekend showdown. Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Dodgers roll into Busch Stadium June 6th through the 8th. Be there Friday for a cool new promo, the first ever Cardinals neck fan. Perfect for hot game days. Then on Sunday, young fans 15 and under take home a Rawlings Kids Glove. It's a weekend of big matchups and big giveaways. Get your tickets now at cardinals.com/promotions.
This is Mason Wynn, St. Louis Cardinals, for the Loop.
The school year is finally over, and it's summer vacation for all our teachers. Celebrate at Busch Stadium. Teachers Night, presented by Millipore Sigma, is back at the ballpark on Monday, June 9th. With the purchase of a special theme ticket, you can take home an exclusive Teachers-inspired Cardinals jersey featuring the birds on a pencil. As a special treat, the first drink of the summer is on the Cardinals. That's Monday, June 9th. Teachers Night at the ballpark. For tickets and details, visit cardinals.com/theme.
This is Steven Matz, St. Louis Cardinals, for the loop.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is, who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardy contractor and Pella Window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050. Now hiring qualified carpenters.
I'm Ultima Morgan. Every year, almost 30,000 babies in America are born with birth injuries. It's every parent's worst nightmare. If your child suffered a birth injury, please call our firm to find out if we can help.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Do you know about the true crimes that inspired a Bruce Springsteen album? Or the murders AC/DC was blamed for? How about Taylor Swift's Violent Stalkers? Or the suspicious deaths of Brittany Murphy and River Phoenix? These stories and more are told in the Disgraceland podcast, hosted by me, Jake Brennan, every Tuesday, where I dive deep into subjects from the dark side of music history and entertainment. So follow and listen to Disgraceland on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Sue, I put this one in here before Sue's news because I know you love George Strait. I did. And I love this song so much. Alex Rich is here, who visits on a Wednesday. Fred Bottomer, of course, Ethan Hannaford holding down the fort. He has to do a lot today because of the narrative changing. So we started the show in some severe weather coverage. Dave Murray was on our sister station. We simulcasted that. Sue's news is going to take place. Never fear. It will happen in the next segment. We're just kind of have to adjust on the fly here this afternoon. But we want to welcome Dave on because he was very busy, fast and furious about an hour ago. Hi, Dave Murray. How are you? Whoop, that's not the right one. That's usually where it is. Ethan, you might have to help me with this because this is another one of those things that you don't anticipate. Well, what happened was, I'm just going to tell people what happened. When we were doing the simulcast, the part of my board that goes to phone, we had to switch over. So Ethan had to dial things up. So now I don't have what would be called the pot. It's just an old radio term, if you will, to go to Dave Murray. So Ethan's going to work his magic here, and we'll get Dave. There we go. It's magic.
There we are.
How are you? Sorry about that. You did a great job in the last hour.
Thank you. I can't believe you're without the pot.
That's rare moment that it is. So, wow, this kind of just happened fast, didn't it?
It did. It really did. And it was very, very isolated. It just happened to really pop right over western St. Louis County. And that appears right along 109 in that particular area. Wildwood appears that where most of the damage is, with trees down, power lines down, some structural damage, I think. It wasn't anything like the tornado we had a couple of weeks ago, but it really spun up. And then it kind of started, it looked like it was going east. And then all of a sudden it shifted to the northeast. And it actually kind of faded as far as the rotation of a tornado. And then it developed a little micro low pressure system right over St. Charles. That helped rain the whole thing out and take the severe stuff away. With that said, there's still very heavy rain in portions of downtown St. Louis, North St. Louis, and into St. Louis County, especially central and eastern portions of St. Louis County down into northern Jefferson County. That it's not severe, still pouring rain with quite a bit of lightning. And that's kind of the pattern we're going to be in over the next couple of hours. I do think they'll get the ball game in, but they're on the beginning front of that, and we'll see what happens. But and then the next, Thursday doesn't look like a lot of action. Friday, the severe threat ramps back up again, especially during the afternoon. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. The weekend still has a chance of a couple of showers, but for the most part, a good portion of dry time over the weekend, a little bit warmer, 80 Saturday, 86 on Sunday. So the good news is we're out of the severe threat now for the rest of the afternoon and into the evening.
Well, as you might imagine, Dave, and you know this, but nerves are certainly on edge. And maybe the only good thing that happened from a few weeks ago is people are paying attention and, taking action and seeking shelter. When this all goes off, everyone kind of clicks into a different gear here in this area for sure, based on what happened a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. We signed with a blizzard 82 severe storm situation.
We can't hear him right now, can we?
No.
That's another one of those.
He was talking
issues.
about the blizzard
See
of
if he
82.
comes back. Dave, are you there?
I am here.
Yeah, we lost you there for a second. I couldn't hear what you said. Sorry.
Yeah, we go on high alert after big weather events. And then after that, things kind of calm down and we lose perspective and we lose concern until the next big thing happens. But you're absolutely right. All of a sudden, tornado warning is issued. Everybody is on high alert. In fact, I heard from some people don't even live in St. Louis saying, I can't believe it, another tornado warning for the city of St. Louis, kind of thing. These are the weather nuts that I know around the country.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Hey, jinxed each other right there. So just because we've heard maybe the game might be in jeopardy, but you think that the rain's going to move out here in the next couple hours, just to be clear?
Yeah, I think, the tarp's on the field, obviously. That's going to take some time to prep the field, get the tarp off, prep the field. That typically takes a good hour, but we've got at least another hour of some fair.
Oh, man.
Now we lost him for sure. Well, we won't go back. It's
Thanks,
just technology.
Dave.
Thank you, Dave Murray. If you can hear us, we appreciate it. And I think we got pretty much the full picture of what he was describing. Now on the game front, because man, there's a lot of moving parts here this afternoon. Ethan, what are you hearing about that? Do you know any answers about the game tonight?
So Derek Gould tweeted just a few minutes ago, 11 minutes ago, saying that the Cardinals are shifting their pitching to prepare for a doubleheader on Thursday. He said to expect an official announcement here imminently, and lots of tweets about it from Bush. Michaelis and Liberatore will start games tomorrow. So what it sounds like to me is it's not official, but it's going to be official very soon.
Let me look here at the email, because the Cardinals send emails out. Nothing has been sent out at this point, but we'll keep you posted on that. By the way, Ethan and Alex, let me drag you into this, because were you taking BP with Tony La Russa watching you and coaching you yesterday?
Yeah, I was indeed. This was
Not yesterday.
Last week. Okay.
It was actually my birthday. You didn't even tell me happy birthday.
I did too. Tell you happy birthday.
I think you maybe
Go check your text.
Wait.
Hang on.
Okay.
See, I just checked the email. It just came up. They have postponed the game tonight. Okay, so here's the release. Ethan's on top of this. The game will be made up tomorrow at 12:45 as a split doubleheader. So as usual, Derek Gould, who really, in my opinion, is like one of the only things that's valuable over there at the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. He's a great reporter, has been for a long time. He was on top of this, and we got a doubleheader tomorrow. So that's confirmed. Go ahead. So that was last week.
So last week, it was on my birthday. It was Friday, and we do batting practice on the field over there in the sales department. A couple times a year, we take some of the clients out there, and to our surprise, Tony La Russa happened to be there this time. Yeah, how about that? And that was cool, because usually it's, you got Scott Terry, Scott Cooper, you'll have Kyle McClellan out there, the guys that do the
fantasy
camps,
right? Yeah.
And we're sitting in the dugout, and on the field just strolls Tony La Russa. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
And everybody was kind of confused. Even the guys in charge running the thing, they were all shocked that Tony was there. And I guess Tony knew one of the clients that was out there and was in town, I guess, promoting an event or doing an event that he has coming up.
And he's always doing events, right?
And it was awesome, man.
Was he in good shape? Did he look healthy?
It's funny, because I saw him a couple of years ago, and I thought, man, Tony doesn't look that great. He looked pretty good. I thought he looked. How old's Tony La Russa these days?
Actually, a good question.
I don't know.
Google that
Stand
right
by.
now.
But
Ethan, you're going to go in on
it was
that?
unbelievable. Look, it's not every day, and I even said this to like Scott Cooper. I said, dude, it's not every day you get out here and you get to take swings in front of living, managing legend.
Right.
He goes, dude, there are people that play the major leagues for a long time that have never taken swings in front of Tony La Russa.
He's 80
years old. He's 80 years old. Now, we've made this clear. Most people probably wouldn't remember this. Alex and I, we go way back. We're friends. But Alex played baseball at Indiana University. You backed up Kyle Schwarber.
Kyle Schwarber's backup.
He's done a little bit better than you professionally in baseball. But, I mean, are you still swinging the bat in okay fashion? How'd you do?
I swing it pretty well. I hit one out last year.
You did?
Oh,
I did hit one out last year.
That's impressive.
That's awesome.
Which it's tougher than, you might think it's tough.
I would think it's tough.
It's even tougher.
I want to get it out of the infield.
No, I wouldn't get it past the pitcher mound. Yeah, and that's even with a bunt. I probably couldn't get very far.
It's tough. No, I didn't get any out this year. I got a couple one hoppers, so I got warning track power. I do. So I put some good hard swings on it.
You know what they say about that?
What do they say about
weight room? Get in the weight room.
Look, I
been
play.
in the weight room. It just
Ethan,
doesn't
I
help.
can't ever remember. Do you play golf, Ethan, or not?
I'm getting into it.
Okay, so
I just got clubs for Christmas.
This guy,
Mark is also still getting into it.
Unfortunately. But when you play golf with Alex Rich, when you get a hold of one, and let's be honest, they spray this way and that way. But when he gets a hold of one, it's 300 yards.
Easy.
You can, so we, especially in like some of the, in the scrambles, you're going off at some pretty, comfortable tees, like the white tees, if you will. And the goal on a scramble, everybody hits their drive, right? And it's the closest to the hole. So when I've played with Alex before, you can even, hit a good drive in our foursome. And then we look for Alex's ball. And it's like 100 yards further than some of us.
Yeah, I'm there for one reason at a scramble. I drive in and then I put the clubs back in the bag and crack the beer open.
But we appreciate that for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna take a quick break here for some business news in just a second. And then Sue, you are fully armed with a Wednesday edition of Sue's News, right?
Yes.
And then Fred guide me through the rest of this because things have changed so much. I mean, I'm going to be so frustrated at the end of the show because I really want to talk about this drone attack. I want to get into a couple other things. We're going to talk about the special session and the whole Kansas City sporting complex compromise with Scott Faughn, who is the host of This Week in Missouri. Typically, Scott's a guest during the legislative session. They have a special session. Nick Schroer, state senator, revealed that. Oh, I got to get out right now. Oh my gosh. All right. Ethan's giving me the wind up. I forgot about that. My brain is still a little scrambled here. We're coming back though. We will have Sue's News in a moment.
I'm Chad Robison with Your Money Now. President Donald Trump today saying he spoke with Russian leader Vladimir Putin for well over an hour regarding Ukraine's latest attack on Russian airplanes and nuclear talks with Iran. Trump wrote on Truth Social, "It was a good conversation, but not a conversation that will lead to immediate peace." A nationwide coordinated crackdown on retail crime led to hundreds of arrests throughout 28 states last week. The blitz involved more than 100 jurisdictions, and over 30 different retailers were affected, including Home Depot, Macy's, Target, Ulta Beauty, and Walgreens, to name a few. Shares of CrowdStrike slumping today more than 6% after the company issued lackluster revenue guidance for the current quarter. On Wall Street, stocks are mixed, with the Dow falling 91 and the Nasdaq gaining 61. Crude oil futures for July are down under 63 a barrel. That's Your Money Now.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code EARN to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code EARN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code EARN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
So a couple of weeks ago, I had Neil Gelman, I think, scheduled for the show to talk about real estate in St. Louis. And it was one of those days that I had to take off, and we're going to reschedule him maybe even this week. But the real estate market is still very, very tricky. That does not mean that you cannot get into your dream house. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get top dollar. You probably will if you go with the Gelman team for your home. But they're going to market your home in maybe a way that you might not expect or be familiar with. And I'll give you an example of that. There's a lot of people, we love our decor. We love people coming into our house. We show off our homes because we have designed it and we put artwork up or pictures in a certain way. That might not be something that the next buyer of your home will be interested in. So they're going to make a suggestion sometimes, and it could be uncomfortable for you. Hey, maybe we need to stage this home. Just because you assume that the market's hot, you're going to sell it right away, top dollar. That is not necessarily the case. Now, you go with the Gelman team, they're experts. I point this out all the time. On the front of their website, they say, we're a marketing company that specializes in real estate. And that's so true. And Mark and Neil are so good at what they do. And they really do have a great team. They also have a great tool on their website where you go on that website and you can click on what is the real current value of your home. If you're thinking about selling, find your home or your condo's value in today's market for free. You enter your address, a pop-up comes up, you check the price. If you need to move forward with the Gelman team, they can take great care of you. But it's at least a little good information in your pocket, your back pocket to keep for the future. You can call Mark and Neil and the team at 314-336-1991. The website, thegelmanteam.com.
Another RX Watch brought to you by Onder Law.
Welcome back to RX Watch. This alert is disturbing.
Right.
A while back, we learned that companies like Johnson & Johnson use a mineral called talc in baby powder and other products.
And studies show that talc, when used for feminine hygiene, can cause ovarian cancer.
Now listen to this. RX Watch has learned that the talc they use is being mined in China.
Right, and talc mined in China contains heavy metal contaminants like chromium and magnesium, which are known to cause cancer. But China doesn't care.
So China gets the jobs and we get contaminated talc in our baby powder.
And ovarian cancer.
Right. With their specialized tests, the medical team at Onder Law can help you know if your ovarian cancer was caused by talc.
Onder Law has helped women for years with free and confidential consultation. You need to call Onder Law's pharma attorneys at 1-800-RX-WATCH.
Call Onder Law at 1-800-RX-WATCH.
That's 1-800-RX-WATCH, or go to rxwatch.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
4:33. This portion of the show is sponsored by our friends at Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Running right back to where we all got started. Got your fingers running through my head.
It's a Wednesday afternoon, a little crazy afternoon because of the severe weather. We thank Dave Murray, even though he kind of faded on us with the technology just a few minutes ago. We'll keep you updated on any other damage reports that come in. Fred is here in the studio. Sue has Sue's News. Alex Rich is here, and Ethan Hannaford. I just want to mention one thing before Sue's News. So my daughter has been at a softball camp at Rockwood Summit this week, and I drop her off and I go pick her up. And when I drove back home this morning, I left my garage open. Probably shouldn't admit that for the thieves out there. My garage was open, and I pull into the driveway, and I look in the middle of the floor of my garage. I'm like, what the hell is that? Sue, it was a little box turtle.
Oh, he was so cute. I saw
cute.
him on somewhere on the socials.
I put it on the Twitter.
Oh,
It was
meant
just
to be.
Yeah, he was just sitting there in the middle of the garage floor. So Alexa picked him up and moved him to the creek, and I think she's going to do okay. I didn't know if it was one of those, I've been fishing in times where a snapping turtle has become an issue, but he had a really interesting coloring to him.
So
and I've seen turtles before, but this one had a lot of
the
yellow.
ending of this story. Though.
Why? Because we
I'm
didn't adopt
surprised
it?
I'm surprised it didn't join the Reardon Zoo.
Yeah, we're too full at this point. That's what I'll say.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Finally, a good day we can get behind. It's National Cheese Day.
Yeah, good.
That's
Okay.
better than whatever weirdness they throw
the only
out.
thing I've eaten today is 2 pieces of string cheese.
What is
I had
happening?
no idea. That is meant to be.
Wait a minute. Are you one of these people who say, I forgot to eat
No,
lunch?
I just really
Okay.
haven't really had a chance to sit down and get something nutritious in my body.
That's fair.
I like the
That's
string
fair.
cheese now and again.
It's really, it is
Uh-huh.
great.
It's handy. You could take it places. I like the kind that they put it next to like a salami one. You can buy them as a twofer.
Oh, yeah.
One's the string cheese and the salami. Oh,
Mhm.
it's unbeatable. Fred, you're looking
Oh
at me.
yeah,
You should try it.
We've got lots of string cheese in our refrigerator. Yeah.
All right. On this day in history, 58 years ago, this has some music, but it starts quickly. In 1967, the Monkees. Here we come.
Go ahead.
Won the Emmy for Outstanding Comedy Series. Really?
Well,
I guess it was. I did
What
really.
year?
67.
Well, okay. I mean, what was it up against?
And
Right.
I had that printed out, but I forgot Sue's News and rewrote it, and then I missed that little thing.
Because back then,
Hogan's Heroes.
Oh, I would have gone with Hogan's Heroes.
See, yeah, and there was something else that I'd heard.
Alex,
of.
do you know either of these shows?
Let me tell you, Hogan's Heroes actually brings back great memories because when we would go travel for baseball growing up, we would stay in the hotel and it would be on
One of the
late
three
night. My dad
channels.
would be watching Hogan's Heroes, and I fell in. I was a big Hogan's Heroes fan. That
Love
and the Andy
that.
Griffith Show.
Yeah,
there you go.
Oh, that was the other one. Thank you. It was against Andy Griffith and Hogan's Heroes, and they picked the Monkees. But
I
okay.
I don't know anything about they had a show.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they
it.
had a
That's
show. It
part of-
was, and they still tour. I mean, whoever's alive, I can't remember who's alive, but Mickey Dolenz, they still go out and they play music out there. So this was a little different. We had an Archie's reference a couple of days ago, and the Archies were like a comic strip. Do you know the Archies?
I'd heard of them.
Jughead, Archie. So that
Uh-huh.
was like a comic strip.
So yeah, this is crazy. So the show Riverdale is based
Yeah,
on.
yes.
All right.
That's how the kids would know it. But this was actually, I can't remember the whole backstory, but they put this group together And I don't know if they
it was
played some of them.
manufactured,
Yeah, it was
yeah.
a manufactured group for the TV show, but they played music, and I think some of them actually played the instruments, right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, we're gonna
We know,
roll.
we know it won the Emmy. That's all we know.
But won an Emmy. Okay, I just thought that was weird. And since we've got music pulled up, let's talk about Rick Astley.
Let's talk about Rick Astley. Let's talk about him for sure. And you know what's crazy about this? I swear this is true. Last night, I'm sitting on my couch, and my daughter starts singing this song. And I
What?
said to her, I said, how do you know that song? Now, she knows a lot of songs because of the movie Pitch Perfect. But then she said to me, I don't know. And she didn't even see any reference to what you're about to say. So tell the story.
Rickroll.
And then I'll say, yes, well, that's part of it.
Exactly. This is Rick Astley, of course, Never Gonna Give You Up fame. He has hit 1 billion with a B streams on Spotify.
It's not surprising. It's not.
And it's because of the whole Rickroll thing.
Do you know I saw Rick Astley? It was about 2 years ago. I think he came with like New Kids on the Block or something. I'm not making this up. He came out probably 7 or 8 different times throughout the night.
What?
And performed this same song 7 or 8 different. I'm dead serious.
The joke was he was Rick rolling them.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
That's
the whole
hilarious.
Night. The whole
So,
entire night.
Just so
That's
people are clear,
hilarious.
if you have not been Rickrolled, the internet prank is that people are kind of tricked into viewing this video
Yes.
for the song. Now, the song was a big hit in 1987. I'd say maybe it was kind of a one-hit wonder, but you know what happens is, and this also happens with men. And I get what's the dude's name? The guy with the giant, you know what? People do this.
Oh
as
yeah,
pranks.
the picture.
Right. The picture.
Yeah.
Everybody. I don't need to get more embarrassed than it is, but it's sort of a version of that where people try to get you to click a
I
link.
see.
Yeah, and then it's this, and that's what happened. Now Rick Astley has actually addressed this on social media. The 1 billion streams.
Who would have believed? After all these years, Never Gonna Give You Up has had 1 billion streams on Spotify. That's 1 billion streams. How amazing. Thank you for listening. And lots of love. And I'll see you all soon, I hope. 1,000,001. Who knows?
Now I learned something today. Did you learn anything?
Yeah, I did. I didn't know he was British.
I had no idea.
I didn't either.
Yeah,
There
I
you
didn't
go.
expect it.
Okay, I have to say, Alex, that is hilarious that they did that and
Oh, it
brought
was
him
great.
in like 7 or 8 times.
But it's perfect because if you have a one-hit wonder and you know that you're famous for the one-hit wonder, then just go out there and do it a bunch of times.
Absolutely. I
Why
totally
not?
agree. Now, you guys, okay, I think we all know in this room that I love Nick Lowe, right? And Nick Lowe did what I would have to call a rebuttal song after the Rick Astley hit with this, Never Gonna Give You Up. And here's a little bit of it's called All Men Are Liars.
Well, do you remember Rick Astley? He had a big fat hit, it was ghastly.
Oh, this is awesome.
He said, I'm never gonna give you up or let you down. Well, I'm here to tell you that Dick's a clown.
Oh.
Though he was just a boy when he made that vow, I bet it all that he knows by now. All men are liars. Their words ain't worth.
Who knows every word? If you're not watching.
It's
That is
awesome.
amazing. And you know I love Nick Lowe as well, but I was not familiar with that. That's
yeah.
great. What a great
It's
reaction. He's kind of a little
awesome.
mean to Rick
A little
Astley,
bit,
but you know,
he was younger too.
Right.
You know.
I wonder what that, by the way, that has to, when you get 1 billion streams, you're monetizing that in a big way. I wonder what the checks are to Rick Astley every month just from that.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Seriously,
I
it
don't
is a
know.
good question.
We need to find that out.
Did you guys hear this story? The guitar that Michael J. Fox shreds on at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance and Back to the Future, it's this cherry red Gibson ES 345. I don't actually know what that means. Do you know what that means, Alex?
It's a very good guitar.
Okay. Well, it's been missing since 1985, and Gibson wants to find it. And they have even made a Have You Seen This Guitar poster with all the details and the stars of the movie. And I mean everybody, Michael J. Fox, they've got all of them in a video.
Okay, here we go. We got audio of this.
Hi, Michael J. Fox. You may know me as Marty McFly.
There's something very important that all of us are involved with.
We need your help.
We are on the lookout for a missing guitar.
We're trying to find the guitar. The guitar I played in Back to the Future.
No one's seen that guitar since 1985, and we need to find it.
Somehow it's vanished.
Erased from existence.
It's somewhere lost in space-time continuum, or it's in some Teamster's garage.
This guitar has been lost to the future. Or there might be a paradox.
It's pretty long, but
wow,
I mean,
that's interesting.
And it's kind of cool to see because at the very end, Huey Lewis comes out and hugs Michael J. Fox. It's
Aw.
kind of sweet.
Yeah, we're
But-
trying to get Bob Gale since he was in here in studio a couple months ago, and we had a great time with him.
St.
So
Louis
hopefully
guy, he
we
wrote
can
Back
get
to
him.
the Future. The
Right.
story behind that is fascinating. He came in when
Yes.
they did Back to the Future, the musical at the Fox, which, by the way, I didn't think it was that great. But we love Bob Gale and we love the history here in St. Louis. But I mean, what hope would they have of actually finding this thing?
Well, here's what happened. The guitar was rented from Norman's Rare Guitars in L.A. and returned after they were done with it in the movie. And then nobody knows where it went after that. They took it back to the shop and then it's gone. And it's likely that somebody just bought it from Norman's and there's
Yeah.
no record of the sale.
Right.
And they think if somebody did, they'd like to contact them and get it back.
So, tie in here, you might remember we have the director of Norman's Rare Guitars. That is a legendary shop in Los Angeles. I have a Norman's Rare Guitars t-shirt now, but that documentary, which I think is on Netflix, is amazing.
Ooh, I've gotta see
Watch
that.
you
that
sent me-
documentary.
you sent
Norman's
me
Rare
the trailer for it. It's
you would
awesome.
love it.
Yeah.
There's
What's
so
it-
many.
is
It's
it-
called Norman's Rare
okay.
Guitars.
I'll
Yeah,
have to watch
it's
that.
It is on Netflix?
Yeah, I think it was called. Yes, it's on Netflix. I'll look
Okay.
this up because there's
all
so
right.
many of these things that are up there. But yeah,
And finally, in Sue's news, we have today's random fact. And this is random. It's a little bit for Mark. Okay. There's a tiny epoxy shield inside of an aluminum soda can. Otherwise, the soda would make the can corrode in just 3 days. Think about what you're drinking. But
Is that right?
that's what they coat it with so that it doesn't eat through it.
but I've even said,
And you're
in-
off the stuff right now.
But right now, like I've had no Diet Cokes
Feel
today at
good,
all.
right? You feel a little.
Yay!
I
feel
had
all right?
2 yesterday. I'm kind of weaned myself off,
This
but
is
I've admitted
great.
that I don't like it in the bottle. I don't like it necessarily. Even the fountain's okay, but I love it in the aluminum can. And by the way, I'm not alone. Those people who are addicted, I would say President Trump's in this camp.
Yeah.
I think Elon is in this camp. They will really only drink it in the can. Maybe it's because of that stuff. And then to your point, Sue, what is that doing to our,
You're an
internal
epoxy guy.
system?
Mm.
People keep telling me, I'm a brain tumor because that's what, they've gone to with the
Okay. I
aspartame.
don't
but,
think I'd go that far.
but no, there have been people that have made that,
I know, but people shouldn't go around saying to other people, you got to brain.
I'm not saying that they did that. I'm
Oh,
saying
okay.
that they have warned me. And my point has been, look, if that causes a brain tumor, I have one the size of a softball right now in my head. We'll come back with one more segment. Oh, did you have? Was that your?
That was the random fact.
Thank God. All right, today's very confusing to all of us.
Mark has an epoxy.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We are rain slowed throughout the area, but the dangerous part of the storm has passed us by. But it has left us with a lot of volume. Southbound 270, Page down through almost 21 now. Southbound traffic on 170 is jammed, headed for 64. 70 is really slow eastbound. 170 through Jennings Station Road. We've got westbound slowing at Adelaide. So again, rain slowed everywhere, and a lot of that in Chesterfield Valley. So if you are eastbound on 64 headed for Clarkson, some slow moving traffic. Southbound 55 slowing south of Arsenal through Rebus Barracks. Rain slowed along 44, especially between Kings Highway and downtown and the Poplar, and traffic heavy westbound on the bridge. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Confirmation that documentary, Norman's Rare Guitars, is up on Netflix. And
Thank
one of the
you.
great things is that they've had a YouTube channel for a long time. So you're going to see, I'll mention Marcus King. Do you know who Marcus King is, Alex?
No,
Marcus
I
King,
don't.
he is he's like along the veins of Stevie Ray Vaughan. And he comes in when he's probably 16 or 17 years old, and he starts playing a guitar. And then they do the thing where they've filmed it. So in the documentary, they use a lot of the clips that are on the YouTube channel because they've had people come in who are famous, who are about to be famous and just regular people. So they sit down with Marcus King, and he's just like a fat little kid with acne, and he plays guitar like you just wouldn't
The
believe.
second he started, you're like, holy
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah, exactly. So watch that documentary. I would say the Osama bin Laden documentary, seriously, that's a great documentary, and the Yacht Rock one, which I think Yacht Rock is on Hulu, if I'm not mistaken, but those are all really, really good. Let's talk about Michael's Flooring Outlet. They have 3 great locations here in the St. Louis area. I have worked with them personally. I've got to know Mike Reynolds. They have knocked it out of the park in a flooring project that they have done at my home in the last 7 months or so. Last fall, we took some carpeting out of a couple of rooms. Then we added a project in the basement as well, where my bunny hutch is right now. That's where Oreo spends a lot of time. But one of the things that you'll see if you go to the website and you read some of the reviews, fantastic review after fantastic review. Mike Reynolds prides himself on outstanding service, very helpful. They understand your needs. Your needs are going to be different than my needs, than Sue's, than Fred's, depending on what the flooring is. Fred had Mike Reynolds come over to his house, and he thought it needed new flooring, and he basically said, what, Fred? He said, just basically,
Yeah, he
you're
said,
fine, right?
Yeah, you don't need it. There's a better option.
Right. They'll shoot straight with you, I think, is the lesson there. The website is igotfloor.com. The locations are in Old Town St. Peters, in Jordan Prairie, and in West County on Olive. Check them out today. Tell them that we sent you along. They're open 6 days a week, just closed on Sundays.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Is thinning hair or receding hairline making you self-conscious? Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS.
Mark Cox here. Join me at the 2025 Missouri Legislative Review, Thursday, June 5th at the Lodge de Pere. Meet top lawmakers, connect with party leaders and grassroots advocates. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
As well as I know my friend Alex Rich, who's with us here in the studio this afternoon, Fred just asked him a question that's very interesting. You want to repeat that question?
Yeah, I wanted to know, because we're going to talk a little bit about online dating, how he met his fiance.
Yep.
And you get married in like 3 weeks, right?
About 2 or 3 weeks. And unfortunately, I think you're coming. Right?
I'm
You did
there.
RSVP,
Yeah,
yes.
I'm going to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, we did. It was the night before COVID shut the world down. We met at a friend's house, actually, the old-fashioned way. Is that what you would say, the old-fashioned way?
I think it is the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, not online, nothing. And we just kind of hit it off.
But then how do you go on dates right after the world shuts down? Just
It
hanging
was
out?
tough. It was more ordering pizzas and RIP Frank and Helen's. We
Well,
ordered Frank and
oh,
Helen's.
yeah.
That was our first.
Well, maybe not a bad
food
way to
together.
go.
No,
Have
it was,
you
it was
ever?
nice.
This is a personal question though, and I've never used a dating app, and God knows hopefully I never will have to. Have you ever used a dating app before?
I
that,
used to be
did
on
you?
the apps, yeah.
Okay, so Tinder has this thing now where they're testing out a new height filter to help people connect more intentionally. So they've, I guess they've had some criticism about the screening process. I really don't know how these things work, but they say this is part of a broader effort to help people connect more intentionally on Tinder. Now, I will tell you, I was thinking back in the Mark Reardon dating history, which is not that extensive.
Sure.
But I really honestly believe that there was only one woman who I ever dated who was taller than me. And this goes back to the 1980s. Now, Alex, you're not exactly
my height's
6'8",
not
right?
yeah,
No,
right.
but
Height's not my thing.
Right. So that, I guess what they're trying to do is match people a little better there. Fred, we even mentioned, I think the weight factor might be something that's even more important, only from the, I'm going to sound mean here, right? But there are people that put these pictures up on, everyone does it. They try to look their best.
No doubt.
They're on Tinder, and then you meet in person, and maybe it's not exactly what you think.
Yeah, but here's the problem with that one. Like the doctor, if you're looking at like height to weight ratio, I'm considered in the obese category.
Well, that's ridiculous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like the weight factor on Tinder there, and that whole like filtering that out, that I don't love that.
But I want Sue's
I also
opinion
don't
on
love the
this.
height thing, obviously.
I don't think taller women typically, now this isn't always the case, but they typically don't date men who are shorter than them, would they?
No, I don't think it's as common, but I don't think it's hideously uncommon either. How about that? Like most people I know are, the men are taller, but every now and then you will see it the opposite. And it's not horrible. You know what I mean? It's not like a horribly
We're
bad
actually
thing.
kind of going through this right now because, obviously the wedding's coming up. Annie and I'm about an inch taller, and it'll be interesting to see how tall her heels are for the wedding day.
Oh,
I'm sure she took this into
she
consideration.
did. It's not like she just woke up, this morning and thought, maybe I'm going to be taller on the wedding
But
day.
in other words, for the pictures to kind of look more matched.
Exactly. I think it's just kind of aesthetically for me, I'd like to be at least the same height or a
She
little
can
taller.
step out of those shoes for those photos.
She can, for sure.
And she wants comfortable feet.
Exactly.
So
and we're
hopefully-
switching into the tennis shoes at the reception. So
You
we
should.
have it all set.
I guess I would have thought, having never used any of these apps, but I would have thought maybe that was something that they had already done with the algorithm or taken into account. But
Well, you could always
it's not.
list height on there.
Okay.
But I guess I don't know if you have to file your like physical records on there and they have to be legit. I mean, I guess at some point I could have put that I was 6 foot and showed up for a date and certainly not been 6 foot.
Just stay seated the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
Come over here.
What amazes me is like I was at a wedding reception a couple weeks ago, and we were at a table with 2 other couples, and they were 20 something couples, 20-year-olds, and both couples met online.
Well, it's very common.
It is
so
Right.
common.
Yeah.
Mhm.
To me,
I
it's
think the
weird.
stigma of it used to be odd. I actually just officiated a wedding last weekend, and
course
part
you
of
did.
I did.
Yes.
And might I say, I'll throw it out there. It was the first gay wedding I've officiated.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I did.
men or women?
It was men.
Okay.
It was men. It was a lovely ceremony.
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean, I
sure it was.
performed it, so it was great.
Right.
And I did. I said that was my joke. I was like, hey, I'd like to note this is my first gay wedding. Got a great laugh. But in there, I asked them like their story of how they met, and they openly were like, we met on Tinder and hit it off. So I think
might have
it
been the
used to
other
be
one. Might have been the
Grindr.
Yeah, I mean,
You're on that one, aren't you?
No, I'm not on
You
that
used
one.
to
But
be.
you know that those are separate, right? Those are separate. Hey, I've had enough of you today. Let me tell you.
We'll see.
We'll
you
talk
guys.
next week. Thanks a lot. We're coming back with Scott Faughn to talk about the special session and how tax money in Missouri is going to be going to Kansas City, apparently. I don't know. We'll find out.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Still some rain in downtown St. Louis, but it's the lighter variety. Now, we still have some heavier stuff headed for 55 if you happen to be traveling on that interstate, but we are rain slowed tonight. Now, leaving downtown, westbound 70 is slowing, headed for Adelaide. It's jammed at Jennings Station Road, actually on either side of it. Eastbound was slow past the airport and at Hanley, then slow pockets, Highway K and Highway A on out through Wentzville. 64 is really heavy and slow, and that appears to be approaching Kings Highway in pockets out through the inner belt. Boy, southbound 170 is jammed, and that's from Olive through 64. Northbound is slow in that area. Eastbound 64 slowing from 270 through Big Bend. What did you say, Mark, about the Cardinals game?
They rescheduled it. It's a doubleheader tomorrow. 12:45 is the first game.
So I'm wondering if some of those people
might not know.
Yeah, and I hope they find out. Hopefully they heard that. Westbound 64 is slow west of, it looks like Clarkson now, and a little slow at N. And if you are headed in from Illinois, there's some volume on the Poplar. Headed into it, it's a slow go, approaching Jefferson, all the way to the bridge itself. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, sometimes I talk about fiber cement siding and James Hardy and Banner Construction. I'm going to do that actually right now. But then, some people might say, what the heck is fiber cement siding? It's made of water, sand, Portland cement, and wood pulp fiber. And when mixed, it's real durable material, and you should have it on your home. If you're wondering if Hardy siding is right for your home, that's exactly when you schedule a free consultation. They'll walk you through all the particulars at Banner Construction. Why should you choose that fiber cement siding? And James Hardy is one of the best in the country on the planet. Well, it doesn't have to be cleaned as often as other types of materials. A lot of the dirt and debris, you just spray it with your garden hose. You don't have to worry about the power washer. You have the aesthetics because, and this is where it gets very creative. If you go online to bannerconstruction.com, you can see the vertical plank, the brick, the stone, the lap type, the wood shingle. It depends on what you're looking for. They have shake and curve shake. Some of this stuff I don't even understand. It's very durable, but it looks beautiful, and it can make your home the best looking home on the block. It's also energy efficient. It's fire resistant. The list goes on. Pest proof. The list goes on. Set up a consultation today. Not only that, but they specialize in pellet replacement windows at Banner Construction. And one more note, just because they've asked me to share this, if you're a qualified carpenter and you're looking for a gig, or maybe you're looking for a better gig, Banner is hiring right now. The number, once again, 314-569-1050. The website, bannerconstruction.com, and have a banner day.
At Odyssey, we believe in creating a diverse and inclusive workforce. We also value the power of community and encourage local organizations to help us in referring qualified applicants to our stations. If you're a community organization interested in receiving our vacancy information, simply email equalemployment@odyssey.com. You'll be notified of all our open positions. That's equalemployment@odyssey.com. And for all our listeners, please visit odysseyinc.com/careers for a list of job openings at all Odyssey radio stations.
An industry leader when it comes to commissions. So it should come as no surprise that the recent Realtor settlement has only empowered us to continue offering our sellers even better rates. We now list homes for only 2%. Hi, I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. Call me 314-441-4444. Why pay more than 2? You can also listen to my podcast on my website, straightrealty.com.
Commissions are not regulated and are negotiable. Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
A battle over the family of a terror suspect. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. A judge has temporarily blocked the deportation of the Colorado firebombing suspect's family.
Lawyers for the wife and 5 children of Mohammed Solomon filing a complaint to halt deportation proceedings, a U.S. district judge granting their request. While Solomon's family members have not been charged in the attack, they were taken into federal custody as officials investigate whether they knew what he was planning. The 45-year-old Egyptian national is accused of targeting a group of demonstrators calling for the release of Israeli hostages, injuring at least 15 people and a dog with a flamethrower and Molotov cocktails. He's been charged with a federal hate crime and will be formally charged with a slew of state charges Thursday, including for attempted murder.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin. Earlier today, Boulder County officials said the number of victims in the attack are now 15 and 1 dog. A federal judge has ruled the Trump administration must give migrants sent to an El Salvador prison a chance to challenge their removals. District Judge James Boasberg says people who were sent to the prison in March under an 18th century wartime law haven't been able to formally contest their removals or claims they're gang members. He's ordered the administration to work toward giving them a way to file those challenges. State Department spokeswoman Tammy Bruce reacting after President Trump said his phone call this morning with Russian President Vladimir Putin was good, but would not lead to immediate peace.
It is perhaps the least optimistic I've heard him regarding the nature of what was possible in a phone call and the peace or ceasefire with Ukraine. But this is part of, obviously, negotiations.
President Trump also said Putin told him he will react very strongly to last weekend's drone attacks by Ukraine. A federal appeals court has declined to lift a judge's order blocking the Trump administration from carrying out his executive order to dismantle the Department of Education. America's listening to Fox News.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
The good news, the threat of any severe weather is done, but we'll continue to see showers and a couple of thunderstorms as we go through the evening and the overnight. But again, no severe weather. 67 for the low. On Thursday, mostly cloudy, a couple of spot showers and thunder showers, but very limited. A lot of dry time Thursday, 83, but the atmosphere picks its pace up again on Friday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts.
It's gonna be all right.
You're listening to the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Boy, the afternoon started with all this severe weather. I mean, I was sitting in my office with my boss, truth be told, and both our phones started going off, and then it was fast and furious. We were simulcasting, if you were not with us, our sister station, KMOX, because Dave Murray was on with them. You heard Dave give the forecast here. He joined us in the last hour as well. But I'm seeing some of the images. It doesn't look, I haven't seen a lot of damage. I've seen a couple of things. This is what I can say, and I retweeted this. Somebody posted something that was in Hazelwood, and it sure looked like it was a tornado. Now, I don't know how serious a tornado. They certainly had one that was indicated on radar. Most of what I'm seeing is like flash flooding in St. Peter's, areas of St. Charles, but more and more, pictures are coming in that move very quickly. Channel 4 has a picture up right now where you kind of have a split sky. On one side, it's cloudy. In the middle, there's a very, very dark, like it just looks like a big plume of smoke, but it's the clouds. And then on the right side of that image, it's sunny. So that's what happens when we get severe weather this time of year. But it was kind of crazy. We hope everyone's all right, especially because we all went through this just a few weeks ago. We had to reschedule some stuff. I don't know if we'll get Kilmeade tomorrow. He was set for today. I know Josh Hammer is going to join us tomorrow afternoon. You hear his show on the weekends here on 97.1 FM Talk. One thing I want to do in the next segment, I have not gotten into this drone strike, Sue, and I'm telling you, when you hear the details of this, it literally sounds like a Mission Impossible movie with what they did and how they struck Russia. And now, the latest on that is President Trump says he spoke with Vladimir Putin. He had a Truth Social post today, and he said he spoke with Putin for like an hour and 15 minutes. They talked about some of the nuclear stuff. Almost said the bad word there. The nuclear stuff with Iran, which they hope they can both agree on. But then Putin says, yeah, look, I'm going to have to react to this drone strike. So the war continues. The killing continues. If we're being fair here, President Trump said that this thing would be solved relatively quickly. It just drags on and on and on. I've said this before, Sue. I think you've agreed. We're in 2025, and we have two major conflicts on the planet right now that don't seemingly either one of them have an end in sight. Or have an end in sight, right? Yesterday at this time, we talked with State Senator Nick Shore about the special session that is going on right now in Jefferson City. Our friend Scott Faughn, the host of This Week in Missouri, is back with us this afternoon. How are you, Mr. Faughn? Welcome back. Let's see if I can press the right buttons here because hey, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Mark. Kind of batten down the hatches from all the rain here. My goodness.
Kidding. Well, that's what I thought too, and that's why things kind of went off the rails here this afternoon. Now, I know that Nick explained this yesterday, but you're an insider Jeff City guy. For a lot of people listening, it gets confusing. Look, my preference would be we go to a situation where these lawmakers only have to go to Jeff City like every 2 years, like they either do in Nebraska or they used to do in Nebraska, but they are called into a session between a very specific time frame. They have to deliver a balanced budget, which is a good thing, I think, for Missouri, but there are things that still linger that they can't necessarily fit in the time frame, and then they have to call, the governor has to do this, he has to call a special session. It's put on the calendar. This one was relatively soon. I think Mike Parson did one that wasn't until August one of these years. So am I basically describing the framework of what's happening this week correctly?
Yes. I mean, the truth is this deal came together a little late in session with the Chiefs and the Royals And when it came together, they tried to push it through. And I'm going to tell you, Kehoe is so good. You've heard me on this show say before, Mike Kehoe's just a winner. He wins. And he was set up. He had it all set up to go during session. And then the House kind of, I don't want to say they messed up a spending bill. They just skipped one and didn't do it. You had some personalities and stuff getting involved, some of the pettier things of politics. So, it was very hard for legislators, like where I'm from in the Boot Hill, to go back and tell their constituents, well, the House said there wasn't money for a crime lab to test rape kits in the Boot Hill, but there's money for a stadium for the Royals. Let's be honest, a team that doesn't even have fans. So, I mean,
I don't think
Cardinals are tough, then nobody else is.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness to the Royals, they've done a little bit better here than the Cardinals even recently. But I understand your point because we are Cardinal faithful. But even today, Scott, didn't he? And this is where it gets confusing even for me. You sent me this. There's a news release from the governor. It says Governor Kehoe amends the call to the special session. So what does that mean? Where are we at with that?
Well, Governor Kehoe didn't want to include he didn't want to include very much of the things that was settled in that House, and the House didn't pass the bill.
Okay.
So the rest of the Senate's like, I'm not voting for a stadium. The Chiefs, let's be honest, they have more years left on their deal. The Chiefs they'll get whatever they want, whenever they want it, right? This is about the Royals. The Royals know they have to strike while the iron's hot. They have to strike while the Chiefs will let them piggyback. And the senators were like, if you don't fund the projects in my district that matter, I'm not funding a project for a team that, let's be honest, who would miss the Royals if they went to Kansas? People in Kansas City could not drive to Kaufman just as easy as they can not drive to Kansas to watch them or to not watch them.
But I would say the follow-up question would be, why, I guess this is politics, right? Why would I vote for that as a member of the legislature here in the St. Louis area anyway, if, as you stated, I don't give a rip if they move over the line there to Kansas? Who cares? So why should we send them any money? And then in the end, is that still on the table or is that off the table?
I think it's still on the table. I mean, I think they could absolutely go to Kansas. There's two reasons.
No. Let me make it clear. My question is a package that offers benefits to the Chiefs and to the Royals, that's part of this special session. So what's the handicap? That is, I guess, what I'm saying.
There's two reasons. One, look at Busch Stadium. They're going to want to renovate that. They've already been talking about it. Just the team was so bad. It kind of had a laugh from everybody.
Yeah. Timing, but not right.
They're gonna want to refurbish that. And so what's good for the goose, they're hoping it'll be good for the gander. And I'll tell you this, Mike Kehoe has the best business backgrounds and the best business resume of any governor since Governor Stark. And he says this is a good deal for the state. People take him at his word. They want to support him. And the governor being sold on this, it brings a lot of senators along, even senators from St. Louis.
So how does that work with the Freedom Caucus members? Because I saw something, and this gets into the weeds a little bit, but Cindy O'Loughlin, who is one of the leaders in the Senate, I think removed somebody from a committee this week who wasn't going to vote the way that she wanted that person to vote, replaced him with another member. So these are the things that happen behind the scenes in politics, right?
No one's ever called the Freedom Caucus the winning caucus.
Well, I've made that case as well, believe me.
I mean, it's just the truth. I mean, the score, Mike Kehoe wins. If I had to guess what happened today when he amended, Mike Kehoe's been personally working this since 8, 9 o'clock this morning. They were supposed to go in at 10 or 11. They still haven't went in at 5:20. He's been working this deal. Mike Kehoe's a winner, and I'm just going to be candid with you. I know it feels good to fire off mean tweets and goofy things on Facebook, but that doesn't result to winning.
No, I know. Look, and I get that. I really do. Look, one of the things I remember, I've repeated this story a couple of times, but last year when Bill Eigel was running in his race, or when he was raising hell in the Senate, and I like Bill personally, and I understand fiscal sanity, and I don't know if I was a member of the legislature, if I would support all this stuff. I haven't studied it all because there's a lot. Like even in this amended called the special session, there are 14 different items, and I'll get to a couple of them here in a second. But what people say this, and this is maybe what they're saying at the national level with Rand Paul and Ron Johnson or whoever else. They said, give him hell, Bill. That was somebody who responded on Twitter. I've known Bill Eigel for a long time. You've known him for a long time. I've seen him give a lot of people hell, right? But I don't know what his accomplishments are. So you have to get something done. That's part of the political process.
You don't have to. I think some of the Freedom folks have proven you don't have to get anything done. you can just complain on the internet and get nothing done. But look at Nick Shore. On your show, I told you I thought Nick Shore was the most important person in this legislative session before it started. He could have came to kind of do that St. Charles thing if they want to fit.
Obstructionist, right? But he's not.
Not really accomplished enough. He came to play.
Yeah.
Nick Shore brought his A game this session, and it was the most successful Republican session in 10 years. Maybe not 10, 8 for sure. It matters. Nick came to play. He came to get stuff done, and he did. And if you were giving out game balls for session, I don't know who was more important to the successful session than Nick. Now, you know, if he takes that Freedom Caucus and he makes them, I mean, to me, win. Doesn't really matter how much you whine if you never win.
Well, and there are some things, you know, the things that get attention of the money that's going to stadium projects, because most people would say, wait a second, what are we doing here? But there are parts of this that I think are very important. First of all, tornado relief here in the St. Louis area, and hopefully not more because of what happened today. There's also legislation that would limit increases in property tax assessments for residential property in 2025 to no more than 5% compared to the previous year. I read a text message yesterday, Scott, from a friend of mine. He sent this. I'm going to reread this because I said this to Nick, but I think it's important. A lot of people listening right now are probably people who have had this happen. He said, want to see comedy hour about our county government. My 25 assessment went from $536,024 to $767,000. So that was a 43% increase. So he did an appeal. This is the better part of it. It gets better. They did an appeal, and then the guy's like, yeah, we adjusted it. It's adjusted from $767,000 to $851,000. So they didn't reduce the assessment. So that is a 59% increase from year to year. That's what people are facing. And by the way, when he asked for an explanation, they say, well, you got to go through the formal review process, and they close the case. That's what people are realistically dealing with. It's outrageous. So that's an important part of this. I also think
Joe Nicola, give him props. He's the guy he's not a Freedom Caucus guy necessarily, but very conservative freshman, never served before. He's the one that's getting that done. He stuck to his guns, and the governor of the state of Missouri came to his office, and they made a deal. And Joe Nicola deserves a ton. I agree. The property tax. You want to know what the biggest problem for schools is? It's not the wokeness, although that is a problem for public schools.
What is the problem?
It's when people start connecting their property tax increases to where that money goes, which is the schools. Then schools got a problem.
Yeah.
A legit problem.
Because what's the ROI, right?
Yes, and how many people that have kids that go to private schools and on and on. Public education's biggest problem isn't charter schools now. It's when people figure out they're the reason for all these property tax hikes.
Do you know,
they got a big problem.
Yeah, I'm looking at this list here, and one of the things that I talked about with Nick yesterday, and I don't know if I see it on the list, and by the way, I think I would support this, that there were strong consideration of sending money to the University of Missouri Columbia to develop a nuclear reactor because they provide their own power there. So I thought that was kind of fascinating. I don't see it on this new list here.
It's actually not for that.
Oh, it's
actually not for that.
Research, though, isn't it?
Yeah, they do all sorts of cancer research. They make a lot of cancer medications in this reactor. That reactor is used 24/7. People will fly here on Christmas Day to use that reactor for major research projects. After I-70 was built, I firmly believe that reactor is the most important piece of infrastructure the state has to address now. $50 million won't even get it done, but it'll show the federal government a real commitment. It'll give Eric Schmidt a much better tool to go push and argue for the federal government to finish this project. It's a huge, huge, important deal. It will actually save people's lives.
But I don't see that on this amended list. So did that get kind of shelved to the future, or am I just misreading this at this point?
I think because initially it's funny, people kept complaining about the call. And I'm like, you don't understand. You've never bought a used car. This is the first offer. The Governor Kehoe last week put the sticker price on the car, right? And now you're actually negotiating. He's throwing in some new running boards on the truck or tinting the windows for you. Now you're getting the deals. He offered 25. Senator Weber from Columbia was like, no, I did a deal for 50 because now he did a deal to get the reactor money because it's this important. Now they're going to let Missouri State offer some doctorate programs, which they never have. The universities are always opposed. Stephen Weber's from the district that includes the University of Missouri Columbia. The House, I don't think, quite realized all the things they were problems they were creating when they did it, and maybe they didn't care. But once all the problems with their plan came out, I think they were a little surprised.
Okay, but Scott, and first of all, none of this is final, right? They have to debate this.
No.
There's nothing that's sent to the governor. There's more. And by the way, of course, the car analogy is perfect because that's how Mike Kehoe started his career at car dealerships. I get all that. But when people hear you talk about this, or even Nick or me, when we talk about this, there is a parallel to what's going on in Washington right now because, well, they'd say, look, all these guys care about is pork. You know, why should our tax dollars go to whatever is in Columbia for the University of Missouri? Why should our tax dollars go for a sports package for the Chiefs or the Royals? A lot of people like to say, you know, it's a NIMBY thing, right? Not in my backyard. We want to support what's here in our backyard, but maybe not the other person's backyard. But that's what I think mainly people who don't understand the process, and most people don't understand the process, maybe in some of the people who are voting on this, it seems like it's excess spending when it's not necessary to the common person out there, doesn't it?
Well, look, I will tell you this. If you know, there's a lot of folks. I'm not trying to put St. Louis folks down. In fact, I'm coming to St. Louis tomorrow to go to an event with Mark Cox at 97.1 sponsoring and the Lodge of De Pere. We're going to have a legislative recap. But there's some folks think St. Louisans might be a little arrogant. And not everybody just wants to give them tornado assistance because, well, you've got Rams money and all this other stuff.
Right.
And if you didn't like the Pride Day at the Royal Stadium, how much you want to bet? I don't know this. Bet you there's a Pride Day at Busch. Bet you there's a Pride Day that a lot of city resources go into facilitating. So how far do you want to go down that rabbit hole? It works for everybody.
I understand.
So you either understand you have to give and take, or nobody gets anything.
Well, I understand there has to be give and take. That's sort of the analogy that I've been using at the federal level as well. Scott, I have to go. I didn't know you were doing that with Mark Cox. Have fun with that tomorrow, okay?
Yeah, we'll have a good time. Thanks, buddy.
All right,
Be safe.
So he just reminded me of something, Sue. I thought this was brilliant. The Colorado Rockies on, you know, because it's Pride Month. I mentioned that at the beginning of the show, right? Of course, we have to honor that. So the Colorado Rockies put out a tweet that says, Happy Pride, because they all have to virtue signal and they show the rainbow color. And it says, celebrate at Coors Field with us on 6/6, Rockies.com/themes. Are you aware of where the Colorado Rockies are in the standings and that they might be perhaps the worst record at the end of the season in baseball history?
No,
okay.
seriously.
Oh yeah, it's just
Wow.
awful. I mean, the last time I looked, they had won only 6 games or something like that. It might be up to 9 or 10. So somebody tweets this out to the Pride tweet. It says, I am not comfortable with the idea of young children being exposed to something as morally questionable as Colorado Rockies baseball. That's where I love the clever people and the creative people on the X, formerly Twitter. We're coming back. I'm going to share this story about the drone attack in Russia. It is like a Mission Impossible movie.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, according to Dave Murray, most of the severe weather has indeed moved out of the area, or at least the St. Louis metro area. I say that, and then I look up and I see that they're still on talking about weather. But as far as we go, we are just rain slowed at this hour with wet roadways. And if you are eastbound on 70, it is a little bit slow. There was an accident reported really close to Adelaide, and then there was one westbound. So we're slowing there in both directions. Eastbound 70, slow-moving traffic past the airport and then headed for Jennings Station Road. There was an accident reported on 141, really close to, looks like Louisville Creek, you know, the creek that runs through there. So just be aware, really close to Pritchard Farm Road, if that helps. And it's really created a jam through there. Westbound 6440 lining up, approaching Kings Highway out past McCausland. Parking lot jam, southbound 170 Olive through 64. 64 westbound slowing again through Chesterfield Valley. Eastbound 70 slow headed for Wentzville. And most of the volume on the Poplar Street Bridge is actually eastbound. Hopefully those people know that the game was put off until tomorrow. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they've been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. Windows, siding, outdoor spaces, kitchens. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. That's traffic 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, I've been talking about Generator Supercenter here in St. Louis, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer, for months. And unfortunately, and kind of sadly in some ways, the messaging is just kind of being handed to me, because here we are once again in a situation where a lot of people are heading home probably right now, and they don't know if they have power. Maybe they're aware that they have power because they got the message, the text message that you're without power, and it usually says, we don't know when it's going to come back on. Well, if you have a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter, you don't have to worry about that. If a storm comes through, a storm system like this comes through, or, and this is where it really gets scary, I think, the power grid has already failed in this country a couple of times down in Texas. I mentioned when I went to Greece, the first day that we were in Greece, big outage in Spain and Portugal. There's a lot of dependence on green energy. Is that reliable? Well, those are questions that smarter people than me have to decide. But what I do know is that you want to make sure you protect yourself. It's just hot and sticky. And it's not even in the, the middle of summer. July and August are even worse than that. Your food's going to spoil. You have to worry if you're even going to be comfortable in your home, especially if you have a home that's not a ranch. You get up into the upper level. If the AC is not working very well, it is going to be hot up there anyway. But with a Generac home standby generator, you are protected. You give yourself peace of mind. You don't have to wait on hold calling the power company. So stop by the showroom in Chesterfield or call for a free estimate. They have financing available. Don't wait for the next storm. Do not do it. Call today, 314-499-2020, Generator Supercenter of St. Louis.com.
We all know spring weather means spring storms. Mark Cox here for Hanson's Tree Service. Now's the time to remove any dead or hazardous trees over your home before the spring storms bring them down. It's a great time to have an arborist come out and put together a plant health care program for your trees and shrubs. You can also order mulch and compost directly from the website and have it delivered to your driveway. Just go to hansonstree.com. Again, that's hansonstree.com.
Recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need, while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they're very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They're in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Retirement statements just hit mailboxes, and for many, the shock is real. Some investors lost 20% or more in just the first quarter. If you're close to retirement, that's more than a dip. It's a danger. But here's what most advisors won't tell you. Gold was up over 30% during the same time. That's a 60% swing. And in retirement, that kind of gap can change everything. So compare your Q1 statement to gold's performance. Then call Noble Gold Investments. Noble Gold specializes in helping people protect what they've earned with real assets like gold and silver. If you're tired of watching your nest egg shrink, it may be time for a change. And right now, when you open a qualified account, you'll receive a free 10-ounce silver American flag bar. Compare and call 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347. Or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Every success you've had began with a great opportunity. Now there's another one. Last aid year, University of Maryland Global Campus awarded over $21 million in scholarships to qualified students, including community college students, service members, veterans, and working adults. Now is the time to move your career forward with an online and accredited skills-based education. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chef.
Need a lawyer? Onder wins. Call Onder Law at 314-9-million. That's 314-9 all zeros. Or go to onderwins.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
Tony La Russa here. Has your loss of energy and weight gain thrown you a curveball in your relationship? If so, go see my friends over at Victory Men's Health. Discreet first-class professionals will help you hit those curves out of the park. VictoryMen'sHealth.com. That's VictoryMen'sHealth.com.
A little controversy for your afternoon. The Mark Reardon Show.
We're going to get back into the actual process of the big, beautiful bill. My friend, former Congressman Rodney Davis from Illinois is going to join us here with his perspectives in a couple of minutes. I have some great audio for Audio Cut of the Day. But I have to get into this, and we got really thrown off today because of the severe weather, and I hope everyone's okay, and I hope you have your power on and everyone's safe this afternoon. But I criticize journalism quite a bit, and we keep these reporters in check. I've been talking about media bias almost as long as Bernard Goldberg has, and he wrote his book Bias, I think, in 1998. But when there's good journalism and there's good reporting, I think we need to highlight that as well. And there's some really good reporting in the Wall Street Journal today about this Ukrainian drone operation that really devastated the bomber fleet in Russia. I mentioned President Trump addressed this with Vladimir Putin today, and Putin said, look, we're going to strike back. That's what I guess happens in war. But listen to the way that this happened. The Russian Air Force is pummeling Ukraine's power stations and cities with missiles because they have the ability to do that. They have very limited air defenses in Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelensky wants to know, how can we fight back? So there's a guy by the name of Lieutenant General Vasyl Malyuk, who's 42-year-old career security officer. He's not 42 years old. He's been in this for 42 years, broad shoulders, they say, a stern, reputation. He's earned a reputation for innovative operations with explosive naval and aerial drones that forced Russia to withdraw much of the Black Sea Fleet from its base in occupied Crimea. And, they've damaged oil plants and military production facilities deep inside Russia. But this was a different ask, and it was formidable. So they say the strategic bombers that launched many of Russia's most powerful missiles operate from beyond the range of Ukraine's air defense systems. They're based at airfields across the country. Some of them, you can think of the globe, you can think of the map. Russia is huge, right? Some of them as much as 3,000 miles from Ukraine. So the SBU Security Service, which this guy Malyuk heads, they deploy long-range aerial drones effectively, but they're very vulnerable to the Russian air defenses, including missile interceptors and jammers and stuff like that. They have advanced technology, a lot more advanced than Ukraine. So Malyuk and his team come up with this plan, and it is incredible, especially with the audacity. They smuggle Ukrainian drone parts into Russia. They assemble them at a secret location. Then the SBU operatives inside Russia used truck drivers that didn't know it was happening to deliver a modern version of the Trojan horse by concealing the drones in the roofs of the wooden containers. So the truck drivers have no idea what's happening. On Sunday, the roofs, activated remotely, tell me this doesn't sound like a movie, slid open on the trucks close to the Russian air bases, released all these drones, adding a dash, as they say in the Wall Street Journal, of transformers to old school spycraft. More than 100 quadcopters, that's what they call them, small drones with 4 rotators, emerged from these trucks. They zip toward the targets, some descending through billowing smoke from already damaged aircraft. And one of the things that's great, Sue, about the Wall Street Journal reporting, I've read 2 versions of this, I like the Journal's reporting better, is they use the images and the video, and they'll show you where the damage took place. It is incredible. Now, they say they've done an analysis of the statements that they've made claims of in the Ukrainian government with Zelensky, but they've matched those claims up with the satellite images and people who knew the operation. And the photographs, see, this is where you get into a situation where information comes out of Gaza, and then, lefty publications run with it, like the BBC, and then you find out what really happened. So in this particular case, the claims are made by the Ukrainians, but they also back it up with the goods. So you have all these photographs and videos that are on social media. It shows how meticulously the operation was. It was homegrown technology with the classic art of deception. They say they damaged 41 warplanes valued at $7 billion at 4 bases using drones that cost about, I want to take a
how much? I have no idea.
$2,000 each.
Wow.
Think about that. Just $2,000 for each of these drones. They say in the Wall Street Journal reporting, publicly available videos and satellite imagery showed 12 damaged planes across 2 air bases. The quote from Sam Lair, who is a research associate at the James Martin Center for Non-Proliferation Studies in Monterey, California, says the numbers the Ukrainians have been providing aren't backed up yet by hard evidence, but he says it is clear that this has dealt a very heavy blow to the Russian bomber force, even if we're not seeing the numbers that they've claimed. So there is a little discrepancy in the numbers, but if they match up the satellite images and the pictures, it shows that they really had a big thump on Russia. Now, the bad news is Putin's going to strike back, so I don't know what that means. But fascinating the way they did this, sneaking him into Russia. Rodney Davis is coming up.
It's time now to stay down.
Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We are still getting some rain out there, and if you are driving, it's just caused rain-slowed traffic throughout the area, and westbound 6440 is one of those places. It's really slow approaching Kings Highway, and this goes all the way out to Lindbergh. And in the middle of there, we've got eastbound traffic slowing just east of Lindbergh through Big Bend. We've got southbound 170 really jammed from Olive, at least down to Brentwood Boulevard. There was an accident westbound 70 near Adelaide, and a slow go through there. Eastbound, there was an earlier accident past Florissant Road, and there's a jam behind that goes back near the airport. And let's see, southbound 270, still slow pockets. This is south of Page down through, it's even past Manchester. It now goes down almost to 55. And we've got an accident reported westbound Highway 30, just almost at the Merrimack River, that's created a jam behind it. I'll tell you what's a parking lot is southbound 141, and that's just south of Manchester all the way down through 44, and out west some slow-moving traffic as well. This report brought to you by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
While you might not give a hoot about this week's space launch, you sure as sunshine care when your AC goes down. Well, good news, a Jerry Kelly per-producing tune-up is just 98 smackers right this very moment. $98. JerryKelly.com.
You know, a lot of carpet cleaners use soaps and chemicals that leave a sticky residue. It's the literal dirty little secret of carpet cleaning. That attracts dirt over time. At Zero Res, it's different. They have revolutionary technology. They call it their patented ZR water. It's a very, very powerful cleaner. It's safe for people. It's safe for pets. It's safe for the planet. And when you call Zero Res to book, and I'm going to give you a special offer here if you listen to this show on 97.1 FM Talk, you're going to get a very clean surface. And it doesn't really matter if it's carpet. They're going to do other surfaces as well. They can do the tile and the grout. They can do your area rugs. They can also do your air ducts. That is very important to do. I would suggest doing it both at the same time, but maybe you've had the carpets cleaned more recently and you're just being reminded about the air ducts. They have $75 off the air duct package right now when you use my name or mention 97.1 FM Talk. The carpet cleaning sale for the month of June, we always have different months. We always have different deals, is 3 rooms starting at $129. This is professional carpet cleaning. It's not like renting a machine in a big box store. The techs are amazing. I've had the same techs in my home sometimes time after time because they keep these experienced technicians. They know what they're doing. If you have a stain, if you have an odor, they're going to get it out for you. They go hard at that stain and make sure that you're well taken care of. That's another reason they have the 30-day legendary, gotta love it guarantee. Get the sale in June. 3 rooms of carpet starting at $129, $75 off your air duct cleaning when you mention my name or 97.1 FM Talk. Call 314-474-2020. The website, ZeroResSTL.com.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is, who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardy contractor and Pella Window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050. Now hiring qualified carpenters.
We started Neovitin because we wanted to create a multivitamin for ourselves. That's why we focus on quality ingredients and formulas with our multivitamins. Neovite 50 Plus multivitamins are formulated with over 20 vitamins and minerals, along with our 4-ingredient physician-formulated proprietary blend for the highest quality daily nutritional support. Give Neovite 50 Plus multivitamins a try for yourself. Find them at your local Schnucks, Dierbergs, and online at neovite.com.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com or call us toll-free at 888-367-6512.
Life is challenging and ever-changing. Take control with passive income through real estate investing. Learn how, learn now. Let Del Walmsley and Lifestyles Unlimited's investors and mentors show you. Meet Del's team and get educated now at Lifestyles Unlimited. Text the word radio to 88007. That's radio to 88007. Join for just $297. Lifestyles Unlimited. Text radio to 88007. That's radio to 88007.
We all have someone we love, like the favorite lyric in our favorite song. You can't imagine life without them. So tell them today, I love you. Get screened. It could help save their life. Visit cancer.org/getscreened to learn more.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
And this portion of the show is sponsored by our friends at Jerry Kelly Heating and Air. Audio cut of the day coming up here in just a couple of minutes. Here is Jason Smith. He was with us last week. He, of course, is a Missouri congressman and the chair of the powerful House Ways and Means Committee on the big, beautiful bill. Elon Musk broke bad on President Trump yesterday. Here's what Jason says.
This bill delivers on all of President Trump's priorities that he campaigned on and 77 million Americans picked on. The largest tax cut in U.S. history, the largest mandatory spending cuts of $1.69 trillion in U.S. histories, including we're repealing more than $500 billion of the IRA, the Green New Tax Scam, including $200 billion of the EV tax credits. We also have the most significant welfare reforms in U.S. history, all within this bill. This is a very conservative bill.
So you have this thing called the Congressional Budget Office, and Caitlin Collins from CNN asked Carolyn yesterday, hey, the CBO says it's going to add all this money. Well, even Rand Paul kind of agrees with that. Here's Jason's answer on that.
It is transformational from trying to reset government, but when people use the fake accounting notion coming from the Congressional Budget Office saying that just extending the current tax law will create trillions of dollars to the deficit is just bogus math.
All right, so former Illinois Congressman, my friend Rodney Davis is here. He's going to shoot straight with you on the process here and the bill. How are you? It's been a little while since we've caught up.
I'm doing great, my man. Waiting for my Raiders to take down your Chiefs this year.
Oh, my goodness.
It's going to happen.
You're going to start with that. Yeah, after the Chiefs get some tax dollars from me and other people here in the St. Louis area. But let's stick to the federal issue here. I'm very curious about what your position is, because obviously you have some people, I mentioned Rand Paul and others. Josh Hawley's throwing a flag at some of the Medicaid cuts. Are they cuts? Are they not cuts? Is it just a reduction in spending? Sometimes we say, why can't we go back to previous spending levels? You know the swamp speak, Rodney Davis. So what's your take on the big, beautiful bill? Elon Musk says it's an abomination.
Yeah, I agree with Chairman Jason Smith. This is historic tax cuts for the American people across all income levels. And it's also one of the largest, if not the largest, cut to the mandatory spending in this country. Remember, the mandatory side of the ledger, which are America's entitlement programs, you could shut government down. You could shut the discretionary side of the budget down, which includes Department of Defense. And you know what? Still 75 to 80% of your federal tax dollars are going out the door.
That's so important. Let me stop you. I've made that point this week a couple of times, and that's so important. It really is. But continue, please.
No, it's that those mandatory cuts, making sure that people who use Medicaid actually should have access to Medicaid. And I think most Americans would agree that if you're an able-bodied adult and you're not working, and if the government helps pay to get you trained and pairs you up with a job so that you don't need Medicaid anymore, I think that's a good thing. I think the American people think it's a good thing. And that's exactly what Chairman Smith and the Republicans in the House did.
But I'm watching Fox, for example, during the day. I'm at my home, I'm monitoring things, and I'm seeing ad after ad from Josh Hawley talking about no Medicaid cuts. He's playing the lingo game. Hey, we're not going to touch your Medicaid. I'm there for you. So how do you respond to that messaging?
Well, I'm not in your media market, so I don't see those ads, so I really can't comment on them specifically. But, the one thing that I've learned during my time in Congress is that, you get to a point where you can begin to negotiate what your priorities are, and I'm sure Senator Hawley and his fellow senators are going to get to that point, and hopefully they'll come up with a compromise that will be principled enough for Senator Hawley to support it.
But outside of that, whatever happens here, because I think there's a fair amount of confidence that in some way, shape, or form, the big, beautiful bill will get to the president's desk, right? Outside of that, what are because there's a limitation here to what they can do with some of the discretionary spending because of the reconciliation process, right? Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, remember, the mandatory side of this, if you had a federal budget, 75 to 80% of those dollars, we'll just say 75 right now. So 3/4 of a pie chart would be eaten up by Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and some miscellaneous mandatory programs throughout other federal agencies. 25%, the last pie in that pie chart, would be discretionary spending. Very important spending levels: defense, health and human services, education, agriculture, etc., commerce. Those are things that people really support. That 25% of the pie, because of the reconciliation process that is being used, that Democrats used to pass the IRA and the ARA and other bills, that discretionary side of the ledger, you can't touch.
Yeah.
That's through the normal appropriations process or the continuing resolution or the omnibus that you will hear that language every September. And so Republicans in the House had to address spending cuts in the mandatory side of the ledger to meet the Senate rules. And that's what they're debating right now. And that's why I think most Americans would agree. Addressing the drivers of the debt and the deficit, which is the 75% of that pie chart, is where you really start to make a dent in overspending in Washington.
Right. But my position has been, simply because I've talked about this for literally 3 decades, there doesn't seem to be intestinal fortitude on either side of the equation to really tackle the out of control spending on that side. And there have to be some tough calls perhaps made in the future, but the future is kind of now, and they're not making tough calls.
Well, they just did make tough calls. I mean, they just did they just passed historic cuts in mandatory spending by making sure that people who are using programs like Medicaid actually deserve to be able to use them. And people who can work that are using those programs actually, may be able to be paired with the job.
I understand that. I've heard the case being made, and Jason made that case last week on the CBO front, because it does seem interesting to me when Republicans don't have control, they criticize the CBO, or the Democrats criticize the CBO, and then vice versa. What's your opinion of the CBO and the way that they do this? Because what I was explaining to someone earlier is we have these tax cuts that you may have did you vote for the tax cuts? You were there in 2017, right?
I did. I helped craft the bill.
Right. So if we get to a situation where we don't have something that gets to the president, well, all of that goes away. But if we keep those in place, which I think we're going to, that's deemed new spending in some weird Washington swamp way, right? Just allowing people to have more of their money, not allowing government or Washington to confiscate their money. The CBO calculates that as new spending.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I will tell you, when we as Republicans were in the majority or the minority, we still complained about the accounting gimmicks that the CBO did. Because just like right now, just like you just explained and Chairman Smith explained earlier, it's a gimmick. And what they're saying is that under your current tax rates, most Americans just file their taxes, and the tax refund or the taxes they owed were a certain amount based upon the tax rates that we lowered for every American family in 2017. Unfortunately, those tax rates for individuals and families and small businesses were set to expire at the end of this year. So if Congress does nothing, Americans, every small business, every family in America will see the largest tax increase that they've seen in American history all at once. And that is why Congress, under the leadership of Chairman Smith, acted. They're the reason why that they kept those tax rates where they are. But the CBO says, hey, you should just let that expire.
Right.
Otherwise, it's an increase in federal spending, because because if you didn't do your job, we would make more money. Therefore, it's a cost. It's absurd.
It is absurd. Hey, will you be coaching third base at this year's congressional baseball game?
I will, and Eric Schmidt is in such good shape. There's no way I'm stopping him at third on a hit to the wall.
That's
again.
what I've heard. Senator Schmidt's going to try to join us either tomorrow or early next week. When is the game? Remind me on the date of the game.
The game is June 11th, Wednesday,
Okay.
June 11th, and the Republicans. I've been at scrimmage last night. I practiced again with them this morning. Schmitty was hitting the snot
there
out
we
of the
go.
ball.
There we go.
It's going to be a shellacking,
All
I
right.
hope, again.
All right. Thank you, Rodney. I appreciate it.
See you, Mark.
All right. Rodney was part of the battery with John Shimkus. Rodney was the catcher many years at the congressional baseball game when they were getting shellacked by the Democrats. The Republicans have the advantage right now. And Eric Schmidt's a big part of that. Audio cut of the day is coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We still have rain-slowed traffic out there tonight. Southbound 270. Slow pockets anywhere from Page. Heaviest down through Gravois, but a little bit to the south of there. 141 southbound is really jammed. South of Manchester through 44. We've got southbound 170 jam from Olive on down. Now, eastbound traffic on 64, a little bit slow, Timberlake Manor. Most of the volume is approaching Lindbergh through Big Bend. Westbound still slow near Kings Highway and pockets out through 270. Westbound 70 is slow go out of downtown and into downtown. If you are eastbound on 70 past the airport, it's a little bit of a slow go. And I want to mention eastbound 70 out west is slow approaching Wentzville. We've got volume now eastbound on 270, just east of 367 past Bell Fountain. And headed into Illinois, traffic isn't bad, but we still have some westbound volume that's slowing for drivers headed in from Illinois. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic, 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, let me take you out to Weldon Spring. That's where New Perspective Senior Living is, and they are a brand new facility. They've opened for about 9 months now. And look, with something new, I mean, this is brand new. You would expect modern amenities. Well, you get that. That's kind of a no-brainer. That's the easy part. What is different about New Perspective is the philosophy and what they do with the team out there. Because, yeah, you have big, beautiful 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, all the granite countertops that you would want, stainless steel appliances, chef prepared meals. But the focus on the people who live there, the residents, is living life on purpose with energy, with connection, with meaning. My mom and dad are in an independent living facility up in the suburbs of Chicago. You want to stay active. You want to feel like it's your home. You don't want to feel like you're just put into a facility or something like that. So whether it's independent living, assisted living, they have a memory care facility. New Perspective makes every stage of life feel like a fresh beginning. You're going to be impressed with the team. They'd love to have you over for a tour. You can schedule a tour easily by calling 636-229-1111, 636-229-1111, or npseniorliving.com. New Perspective Senior Living, they're in Weldon Spring. Check them out today.
Another RX Watch, brought to you by Onder Law.
There's an evil new twist in the tragic story of baby powder and its link to ovarian cancer. Recently uncovered documents reveal that talc can contain asbestos.
The same asbestos that we know causes mesothelioma.
Right, and ovarian cancer.
In the 1970s, the industry wrote its own rules, allowing Johnson & Johnson to claim that its talc was asbestos-free, as long as it contained less than 1% asbestos.
Of course, Johnson & Johnson helped write those rules. So while we're using hazmat suits to remove the asbestos from our homes, Johnson & Johnson was telling women it's safe for their bodies.
Unbelievable. So if you've used talcum powder for feminine hygiene and contracted ovarian cancer, call Onder Law at 1-800-RX-WATCH.
They've already won several large verdicts against Johnson & Johnson for women just like you.
Call Onder Law at 1-800-RX-WATCH. That's 1-800-RX-WATCH or go to rxwatch.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Do you ever wonder if you've saved enough money to retire? Well, you can find out how you can make your money go a lot further in retirement in a 3-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. Hey, it's Sue Thomas, and this is a one-night class. It's taught by a fiduciary advisor from Financial and Tax Architects. They have decades of financial planning experience, and they hold these at colleges and libraries throughout St. Louis. You will learn about reducing your taxes, maximizing your Social Security income, paying for health care, all of it. And there's no cost. Just bring 3 canned goods for St. Louis Crisis Nursery. Now, there are a handful of openings for the classes this month and next. Just register by calling 314-947-2012. 314-947-2012. It's the Sue Thomas number, 314-947-2012.
Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Our tax cuts coming along with stadium funding. We'll ask Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe live at 7:35 Thursday.
The Mark Cox Morning Show. Weekdays from 5 to 9. Right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
Oh, man, that's the band I used to love in the 80s, the Del Lords. They are on the bumper music list today. The song's called I Play the Drums. If you ever want to check out any of the music, I do kind of a mix, as some people know, of alternative music and classic rock. This would be in maybe the 80s category of alternative rock, if you will, the Del Lords. But just a great, great band. So I put that up on Spotify, and I will blast it out on the X, formerly Twitter, here in a matter of moments. I finally figured out, Sue, I think I told you this, I can write these things out, and I do my playlist in the morning, and then I create the X or the tweet, whatever you want to call it, and then I can save it as a draft. So when the show's over, I press boom, and it goes.
Yeah,
and,
that's kind of great.
I think smarter people than me have been doing that for a while, but I figured out how to do it. Let's do this here this afternoon.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
Well, it's been a very, very busy day, and there's a lot of audio that I not get to today that I may follow up on tomorrow. But you know how much we love Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana, right?
Oh, yeah.
So he's at a hearing. This is actually yesterday, and it involves St. Louis, to tell you the truth. He is grilling a law professor by the name of Kate Shaw, and he has a real special exchange here. He brings up this comment from her podcast, which is in April of last year, where she referred to Supreme Court justices as evil. Now, she is an ABC News contributor, which makes me even laugh more. She's a law professor at the University of Pennsylvania Carey Law School. She's also been married to Chris Hayes since 2007. Chris Hayes is one of the biggest lefty nonsense people out there in media. So the case that they were talking about was the majority opinion in something called Muldrow versus the city of St. Louis. And I don't even know anything about that case, but what I do know is that John Kennedy just slays her here.
Said, quote, Justice Kagan, will she be able to control the opinion's future distortion by her evil colleagues? Probably not, end quote. Who are you talking about?
I'm very skeptical. If there's a transcription, it was probably a transcription error. I don't refer to Supreme Court justices as evil in the classroom,
on
sir.
Your podcast, April 22nd, 2024. And you're an officer of the court, and you're here advising us to be respectful of federal judges. And you say they're evil members of the United States Supreme Court. Gag me with a spoon.
You get him, John Kennedy. Now, what's funny about that, Sue, is I swear, as soon as we heard gag me with a spoon, I say to Ethan and Fred, we have to get the clip from, you remember the movie?
Oh, is it Clueless?
It is. But you know what's funny? If you Google that, you cannot find that damn clip anywhere.
Really?
There must be a copyright reason.
Oh,
maybe somebody owns that phrase. John Kennedy, though, used it expertly in that hearing. And that is your audio cut of the day. Have a great night. We'll go out with the Del Lords. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Hopefully a little bit more settled tomorrow after a crazy day.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We are still rain slowed. We have rain falling throughout the area. It's just not as heavy as it was earlier. Accident eastbound 364 at 94. Watch for that one in the right lane. We've got a lot of volume downtown on 70 in and out of downtown. 6440 is lined up Kings Highway out through McCausland. Moderate volume at 270. And then a little slow at the 70 split. Now, southbound 270 has slow pockets. It's Page down through 44. We've got a parking lot on southbound 141 south of Manchester down through 44. We've got volume on eastbound 40 Lindbergh through Big Bend. Southbound 170 is heavy and slow. And out west, 70 slows near Highway A out through Wentzville. If you are headed into Illinois on northbound 55, a slow go at the Poplar. And westbound has some volume as well. I'm on the Poplar Street Bridge. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
Scott, can you believe it's already been more than a decade since the Queen of Carpets sold flooring to St. Louis area contractors?
I know, but I don't have to be a king to offer contractors today's lowest prices.
Yes, contractors owe it to their customers and themselves to shop at Best Buy Flooring for the largest in-stock selection of carpet, carpet tile, sheet vinyl, laminate, hardwood, luxury vinyl plank, and luxury vinyl tile.
Plus 3 convenient locations, North County, South County, and Metro East.
Open 7 days a week.
Best flooring, best selection, Best Buy. Best Buy Flooring.
Gain a global perspective and specialized skills that many of today's top employers are seeking with an MBA from University of Maryland Global Campus. Study online and complete your degree in just 16 months for about $21K. Choose from MBA specializations in global business, marketing, HR, finance, and more. Classes start June 11th. Learn more at umgc.edu. That's umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
The fighting spirit of the Marine Corps is born of battles won. Battles won within, over enemies of fear, enemies of doubt. It's who we are. It's what we do. It's a promise made to you for more than 2 centuries. A promise of the Marines.
KFTK FM Florissant,
an Odyssey station.
It will move forward. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Senate Majority Leader John Thune with those comments after a White House meeting with President Trump on the tax cut and spending package, despite criticism from within his own party and from President Trump's close ally, Elon Musk.
We're committed to making a law that will make the lives of the American people better.
Senate Democratic Leader Chuck Schumer.
Despite the lies that Republicans have been telling Americans and maybe themselves, there's a cold, harsh reality that this bill is just tax breaks for the ultra-wealthy, paid for by gutting health care for up to 16 million Americans.
The Congressional Budget Office says the measure will add $2.4 trillion to the deficit and leave 10.9 million more people without health insurance. A federal judge has ordered the government to immediately hold deportation proceedings against the family of Mohammed Solomon, who was charged in the firebombing attack in Boulder, Colorado.
The family, currently in ICE custody, is suing to be released. Also today, Colorado Governor Jared Polis came to the site of Sunday's attack, and he was joined by local faith leaders as a sign of unity against hate.
Fox's Alicia Acuna in Boulder. Solomon, an Egyptian national in the U.S., illegally faces federal hate crime and attempted murder charges. Police say he used Molotov cocktails to attack a group of pro-Israel protesters on Sunday, injuring 15. A different federal judge has ruled the Trump administration must give more than 100 migrants sent to a notorious prison in El Salvador a chance to challenge their deportations. The judge says the people who were sent to the prison in March under an 18th century wartime law haven't been able to formally contest their removals or allegations they're members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. This June, the Fox News Radio Network is celebrating 20 years of breaking news every hour, every day. For more headlines, go to foxnewsradio.com. America's listening to Fox News.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com, sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
I'm Taylor Riggs, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks ending mixed as investors await developments on the trade front while digesting employment data that came in weaker than expected. The ADP private sector employment report showed that hiring fell sharply in May, with private payrolls increasing by just 37,000. That's the lowest level in over 2 years. On Friday, the Labor Department releases the key jobs report for May. Tech gain boosting the tech-heavy NASDAQ, the Dow falling 92 points, the NASDAQ higher by 62, S&P 500 up 0.5%. And Costco's sales growth slowed for the 5th consecutive month in May, sending its shares lower in extended trading. The warehouse retailer recently topped earnings and sales expectations for its latest quarter. Analysts do expect Costco to continue to outperform its peers as tariff-induced price increases push more consumers to look for deals. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
I'm alpine skier Michaela Schifrin. I've won the most World Cup ski races in history. But what does success mean to me? Success means discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us, and it's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. If you're looking for success, surround yourself with the people who will get you there. If you're an advisor or investor, choose Stifel, where success meets success.
Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Past performance is no indication of future results. Investing involves risk. Consult a financial advisor before making any investment decision.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
The good news, the threat of any severe weather is done, but we'll continue to see showers and a couple of thunderstorms as we go through the evening and the overnight. But again, no severe weather. 67 for the low. On Thursday, mostly cloudy, a couple of spot showers and thunder showers, but very limited. A lot of dry time Thursday, 83, but the atmosphere picks its pace up again on Friday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Gain a global perspective and specialized skills that many of today's top employers are seeking with an MBA from University of Maryland Global Campus. Study online and complete your degree in just 16 months for about $21K. Choose from MBA specializations in global business, marketing, HR, finance, and more. Classes start June 11th. Learn more at umgc.edu. That's umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Tony LaRussa here. Men, are you running out of stamina rounding third base? If so, call my friends at Victory Men's Health in O'Fallon, Illinois. Scoring at home is important, just as important as crossing the plate with the winning run. VictoryMen'sHealth.com.
Artistic Decks will customize your dream deck with the highest quality materials in business for over 20 years. And it's affordable. Let me say that again. Your dream deck and affordable. Let Artistic Decks make it a reality this summer. Call for a free quote, 314-280-0821. ArtisticDecks.net.
From everywhere USA, it's Fox Across America with Jimmy Fallon.
Paul Gleiser sitting in for Jimmy Fallon. Hour 3 of an action-packed Fox Across America here on this Wednesday. And on the line with us right now, we have Harrison Fields, Principal Deputy Press Secretary to President Trump at the White House. Harrison, thanks for taking time to join the show today.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Listen, we've been talking all of the first 2 hours of the show, and I really, really want to get your take on this. We're talking the first 2 hours about the fact that Elon Musk lobbed that grenade into the White House almost literally hours after he left, calling the big, beautiful bill an abomination. We have people that are sharply critical of the big, beautiful bill. We have Speaker Johnson, and as one example, Ben Klein of Virginia coming out speaking in favor of the big, beautiful bill. Just had Pat Faughn of Texas defending it. Two things I want to know. Well, number one, how does the White House deal with Elon Musk, who was being hailed as a hero on Friday, saying what he said? And number two, the truth about the big, beautiful bill, and